Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the maiden edition of the Africa Digitization Conference on Tourism and Trade. I'm your host for the day and moderator, Angela Ekuya Asante, aka Triple A, COO at the Chamber for Tourism Industry Ghana. We are live streaming on YouTube and we are here on Google Meet. We're about to have a fantastic discussion on tourism and trade in Africa. Is going to be massive. We have people from all over the world joining in. More people joining us right now as I speak. So we're going to go now over to our CEO, Mr. Prince Intiama Boapong, who is about to give us a very nice short address to welcome us all. Remember that we are streaming live from the National Development Planning Commission in Accra, Ghana. We thank them for this gesture, and we are streaming also with the support of our DIRF, our partners and sponsors, Santo Petroleum, Ridge Royal Hotel, and Red Mango Hotel. So, Mr. Prince, the floor is yours for your welcome address. Please unmute your microphone and let's take it away. Let me please ask everyone who is not talking to please mute their microphones because this is not going to go well otherwise. We don't want to hear any echoes. I'm currently hearing myself on somebody's microphone, so please everyone mute your microphones. Thank you very much. So it's time now for our CEO, Mr. Prince, to take the floor. Mr. Prince, can you hear us? Are you online?
Yes. Yes, I'm online.
Thank you very much. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you for our viewers and listeners all over the world. This is ADCOTT, the African Digitization Conference on Tourism and Trade. Issues of trade and tourism is a major issue when we come for discussion any day. In Africa, we are boasting of a population of about around 1.3 billion people, with a GDP of, we are looking at a GDP of about 36.2 trillion, 2.3 trillion, and an international trade volume of 36.2 billion in 2016. So as a continent, we have a lot when we want to concentrate on trade and tourism that we can do. Among ourselves, between the 29 Francophone countries and the 24 English countries that we are here in Africa, trade among ourselves, as in the recent statistics, was just about 17%. Whilst other free trade areas, like the North African free trade area, is doing a little over, they are doing about 59%. We are doing about 17%. So we are the least when it comes to trading among ourselves. And this population that we have, about 1.2 billion people, there's more we can do when it comes to trade and when it comes to tourism. The people arriving in Africa, we just had international arrivals, a volume in dollars about 36 billion. And our African GDP is about 2-point-something trillion. So it means that their contribution is very small and we can increase it. So conferences like African Digitization Conference on Tourism and Trade, we want to look at how even in COVID, crisis situation like COVID, we still can boost tourism and ability to bring trade in it. Whilst tourism, we are talking about tourism and trade, is that everywhere people go, the economies of the place change because they eat, they take transport, they sleep in hotels. So there is an aspect of business that goes on when people move. So as a tourism organization, we thought it very wise that we cannot talk about tourism in isolation without bringing the trade bit to it. Countries like the United Arab Emirates, the UAE, that's Dubai, saw the future that their oil reserves will be running out. They replace it comfortably with tourism because as we live, as people work, there's always a need for people to travel. There's always a need for people to seek leisure and all. And so far as people will continue to do it, there will always be a business of tourism. There will always be a business of trade. Tourism cuts across everything. We have sports tourism, we have agro-tourism, we have so many tourism. People travel for so many reasons. So as a continent, we are leading this conversation and saying that, listen, Africa, we can do well among ourselves, we can do well internationally. Welcome the global community to come and see the good things in Africa. Of course, always the thing or the catch for African tourism has been our beautiful tourist sites. But there are so many things that we can even explore further to bring people in for them to come and have an experience. Everything tourism, to me, is not even the cost of it, but it's about the value people will take in the form of experience that they will have. So as a continent, this is what we should be looking at. And the reason why we are bringing the technology bit is that technology is driving everything now. You can't do tourism now in isolation without being driven by technology. So look at a site like bookings.com that has come to, have a very big stake. It's just a technology platform, but it's helping tourism big time. And that's the conversation we want to advance this morning. So we have various speakers all over the world. We welcome all of you, the various organizations from African Union, NDPC, Ministry of Tourism Ghana, GTA, African Open Data, all the organizations that are represented in this conference. We are very happy to have all of you. The conversation will be very brief, but it's going to be very beneficial. Wherever you are around the world, welcome to the maiden edition, and we will be making it bigger by the grace of God. We'll be moving forward with ADCOTT, and it's going to be a platform that every year you'll be looking forward to be on it. So God bless all of us, everybody who is here this morning, joining this conference from the nations of the world. You have something to take home because our speakers are really prepared for it. And everybody who comes here, I know, is going to give you something that's your time. God bless you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much to our CEO of tourism industry, Mr. Prince Intiawa Wapon. You are watching a live edition of the ADCOTT, which stands for the African Digitization Conference on Tourism and Trade. We have more and more people coming into to join us, Destination Afrique, and so many other people from around the world. We're very privileged for that. A short thank you note to Dr. Kojo Esem Mensah Abrampa, Director General at the NDPC, where we are streaming this live today. We're going to quickly head over to Nigeria, where we have Madam Abigail Adesina Olagbaye, African Tourism Board Ambassador and ex-Miss Tourism Nigeria, for her solidarity message on behalf of the African Tourism Board. Abigail, can you please hear us? If you do, please unmute yourself and take the floor for your address. Hi, Abigail. Hello, Abby. Can you hear us? Can you unmute yourself?
Yes, I have done that. Good morning. Thank you so much. My name is Abigail, as stated, Abigail Adesina Olagbaye. I bring greetings from Nigeria, the largest Black nation in the world, and of course, with a broad spectrum of culture and tourism diversities. I serve the African Tourism Board as the ambassador and country representative to Nigeria. I also serve in a capacity as a chairperson for technology, innovation, and travel facilitation. And in this committee, we, of course, in collaboration with our partners, we, design and advocate, design and, implement solutions, that make travel to and within Africa safe, secure, and sustainable. So thank you so much for having me this morning. I want to title my solidarity message, Globalization of Africa's Tourism and the Symbiosis of Trade and Tourism. In definitive terms, the globalization of Africa's tourism means the widening of linkages and connectivity of places, destinations, and products. the internationalization of Africa's tourism to make it known, accessible, experienced globally, and in real time for more global tourism flows and business competition. We can make this possible through digitization, and it's already happening. What this means is that we must begin to identify our differentiation assets, our culture and tourism repositories, open them up, study them clinically, determine their intrinsic features and values, and with that knowledge, package them as brands and products and make them available and accessible digitally for increase in global flow of tourists to Africa and within Africa. The world is moving and we don't want to be left behind as a continent. We must therefore earnestly afford ourselves the benefits and advantage that new technologies like data analytics, robotics, machine learning, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, blockchain tech, virtual and augmented reality, coding, 3D printing, the list goes on. We must avail ourselves the opportunities that these new technologies provide us and digitize our culture and tourism assets to be able to grant and open up access technologically to ourselves as Africans within and outside the continent, because of course we have our Africans in diaspora, and to tourists at our source markets without inhibitions or impediments of time, space, medium, or distance. This is important for the strategic positioning of Africa in terms of Africa's essence, perception, and for strong global presence, relevance, resilience, and economic and developmental prospects that come with it. We must now equip ourselves and diversify our capabilities with these digital and innovative skills, especially because the future of work may present the reality of greater loss of jobs. Who knows if robots may become our tour guides eventually, with 3D printed buildings, event centers, hospitality facilities, and that at faster deliverable timelines. So I'm not talking of the distant future. These things are already happening, as I said. Therefore, it is a call and a reminder to African countries, governments, institutions, departments, agencies, public and private tourism sector to come together for collaborative action and synergies that culminate in solutions that best serve these purposes, to facilitate knowledge transfer, offer training, digital and innovative skills, learning to young businesses, to youth in Africa, to women, and to other inclusive groups that operate in this space. Now, the volume of trade will increase on the continent, especially with the advent of our Africa Continental Free Trade Area, which commences in January 2021. So people will be traveling the length and breadth of Africa. So we must therefore think safety. We must think security. We must think sustainability and begin to determine the important place, role, and significance that tourism holds and how it serves Africa's trade agenda. We are saying, as we trade, can we strategically integrate tourism in the business trade sector? For instance, how many tourism service providers, organizations, and agencies are offering tour packages and experiences to chambers of commerce and industry, trade and professional organizations and associations? Let's get into the various business and professional sectors like mining, agriculture, finance, insurance, construction, medicine, commodities, FMCG, that's fast-moving consumer goods. Let's get into these sectors and do a needs analysis, custom our tourism experiences and products to suit consumer needs and go ahead and sell our destinations to these target groups. Finally, we have to bring the prospects, progress, and profits of trade to bear on tourism in terms of investment. If we don't develop tourism with the proceeds of trade, we will wake up one morning and discover we have not built anything. And that is a recipe for disaster. For the simple fact that businesses and markets are dynamic, hence, in the time of plenty, we must convert our wealth to meaningful, sustainable, real, and lasting development. Also, I want to speak to businesses. Businesses who trade must be socially responsible in the environment and the communities and localities where they operate in terms of their positive or negative impact, as the case may be. If your operations is causing damage to the environment and the people, you must appraise your production processes, business activities, and waste generated, and retrace your steps as a business. Our culture and heritage must be protected. So businesses, corporations, multinationals, companies, etc. must, as a matter of urgency, invest in and develop the environment and the tourism assets that are raw and undeveloped, that are in the destinations and the communities where they operate as a business. They must invest in the people. This is how to have a balanced, symbiotic, and complementary relationship between trade and tourism sustainably. This will take us as a continent closer to the AU Agenda 2063, the SDGs 2030 in Africa, and even our personal goals of living sustainably with the future generation in mind. So I'm rounding up by saying that more tourism, more trade gives birth to even more tourism, but it must be sustainable. So Africa Digitization Conference and Trade and Tourism, ADCOTT, keep this fire burning. African Tourism Board is happy to identify with this noble initiative and event. And to Africa, we say, welcome to the future. The future is now. Let's utilize digitization to capture and seize this future without further ado. It is not just for us, but also for those coming after us. Thank you so much.
Thank you so very much, Madam Abigail Olagbaye, former Miss Tourism Nigeria and Ambassador representing her country, Nigeria, at the African Tourism Board. Such a passionate solidarity message. I believe you said it all. The chairman, Mr. Cuthbert Nkube from South Africa, unfortunately couldn't make it live right now this morning. He did send a video, but you know, time is running out already. So what we're going to do now is we're going to head over our very own Mr. Kwesi Edison, Vice President at GHATOF and President of the Tour Operations Unions of Ghana, TUGA. And it's very nice to have you on the line. If you are around, please unmute yourself and take the floor. You online indeed, Mr. Kwesi Edison. Please unmute yourself and share with us a very brief solidarity messages. Your microphone is off. Please unmute yourself. There is a button at the end of your screen, at the bottom of your screen, for the microphone. So please unmute your microphone and share your address. Let us know if you are facing any challenges to unmute yourself. You will see a microphone icon. You can turn it off or on. Well, it looks like Mr. Kwesi Edison is having issues to join in. We can see his face clearly, but the sound is not coming. So, Mr. Kwesi, it's indeed a pleasure to have you. We will try and get back to you if time permits a little bit later when you are able to fix your microphone issues. What we're going to do right now is, as we're catching up with time, we're going to head over Turkey. We are going to have Mr. Bulut Bakshi, President at the World Tourism Forum Institute and Global Tourism Forum. He's joining us all the way from Turkey, and he is going to share a fantastic address on tourism, education, investment, and marketing to adhere to international standard in the hospitality sector. Mr. Bulut Bakshi has a vast range of experience in the tourism sector, more than 10 years, and he's indeed the best person today to lecture us on tourism education, investment, marketing to adhere to international standards in the hospitality sector. Mr. Bulut, are you on the line? You are.
Hello,
perfect.
Do you hear me?
So we're going to have you.
Yes.
We're going to have you. What time is it in Turkey?
Yes. Actually, thank you very much for hosting us on this, the perfect meeting, perfect webinar. So because the Ghana is my first place that I have touched and did an event in Africa the first time. My first place that I did the event. So that's why Ghana has a special, the feelings for me when I heard the Ghana, so I feel very differently than the other countries.
Fantastic.
So thank you very much again. First of all, the pandemic, the coronavirus, yes, it's a huge problem in the world. But the thing is, on tourism industry, if there is a crisis, there is another opportunity. So on the World Tourism Forum Institute, we are looking and searching what is the opportunities. Basically, what we see in all crises, the world is faced. The 2001, 2007, 2011, United States, Europe, and Asia. So all these countries face some crisis, maybe terrorism, maybe, again, the virus, or maybe economical problems. But the thing is, when the problem finish, after then, the numbers of tourists doubles or 1.5 increase. So it's very important after this virus. So the Ghana tourism, all the countries and all the regions tourism will increase. But the thing is, the most important here is after the crisis, the people will recognize what you did during the crisis. So it's very important as a country, as a hotel, or as a travel agent, or as an airline. There are two perspectives as the World Tourism Forum Institute we are looking for. The first one is our approach is on the investment side, and the other is the marketing side. As we see on the Ghana is going to be succeed, especially on the marketing side. When they open, they visit Ghana. There is a Ghana Instagram and the web portal. So it's a good thing, and they are giving the good messages to the world. So it's very, very important. For the investment side, it's the crucial. So okay, we have a security in the city or in the airport or in the destination, but on the investment side, you have to create a huge security on the financially. So when a investor is going to come in Ghana or in another destination in Africa, so it's crucial the governments have to create the atmosphere of the financial security. It means the investor will put the money, after then they start and create the jobs, and then they start the work, hotels, airports, maybe marina, I don't know. So which opportunities that they are putting the money. After then, when the things are done, when they feel, okay, I'm here, it's fine, so I'm going to get out of the country. So they have to feel comfortable when they are getting out of the money. So this is the most important and crucial thing that I'm going to emphasize. But and also, especially for the education side that you are mentioning, what Turkey did very well, the education. Because in Europe, lots of countries, you are going lots of five-star hotels, but the education is not, the service quality is not well like Turkey, like Dubai, or like Egypt. So the most important thing is you can build $1 billion hotel, $1 billion property, but the most important thing is the property is property there. The luxury or the concept is your guys who is serving inside that. Without the service quality, without the education, the training, it's impossible to get the high-profile tourist in the destination. So this is the most important thing that we observed. Actually, thank you very much again. It's an honor to be a part of you in this webinar. So thank you.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Bulut Bakshi. I love how you were so positive about Ghana's potential in the tourism industry and the tips that you shared. We look forward to having you again when the borders are going to open, and we will tell you, of course, Akwaba. We are trying to go back.
Yeah. Yeah, actually,
to go back to.
Actually, the thing is,
Yes, please.
one of the gentlemen said the Dubai. Okay, they discover the potential of petrol. After then, they turn the sector to tourism. What I see at the West Africa, there is no exactly place to be recognized like the Dubai of Africa. So Ghana can be this destination. I mean, Dubai of the West Africa. Why not? Because you have a good airport, you have hotels. I mean, the Kempinski, the Movenpick, and the local brands. You have lots of things. So you achieve lots of things, but a small tricks have to be done. I think it will not take too much time, and I'm sure that because the vision and the leaders' vision are very smart, so I'm sure that all together we will achieve lots of things in Ghana. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Hello? Amazing, amazing, amazing. So we are going back to Mr. Kwesi Eyison, Vice President at GHATOF and President at TUGA. Mr. Kwesi Eyison, finally we have you here loud and clear, right?
Yeah, finally. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, but yes, and we can see you as well.
Good. Good, fantastic. Sorry about that H. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, everyone, to our distinguished panel members and all participants. Let me say all protocols duly observed. I bring you warm fraternal greetings from the Ghana Tourism Federation, made up of over 30 trade associations, namely Tour Operators Union of Ghana, Ghana Hotels Association, Car Rentals Association, Tour Guides Association, a few. Let me extend our sincere appreciation to the Chamber for Tourism Industry Ghana and ADCOTT for this virtual conference themed Pushing Africa's Tourism and Trade Frontier through Digitization during Pandemics. The theme for this virtual conference could not have come at a better time than this period, when the COVID-19 pandemic has, in spite of its devastating effects on trade and tourism, presented an opportunity to leapfrog Africa's digitalization drive. For years, the digital divide in Africa and between Africa and the rest of the world has showed digital transformation of our enterprises, resulting in market disruption of our trade and tourism sectors of our economics by multinational companies outside Africa, examples of which are Uber in the transport sector, Airbnb in the accommodation, and e-commerce transactions on various virtual marketplace sites such as Amazon, eBay, Alibaba, etc. This pandemic has, however, compelled enterprises, particularly in the informal sectors of Africa's economy, mainly the micro, small, medium-scale enterprises, which constitute majority of businesses in the trade and the tourism sectors, to embrace digitization and digitalization aimed at digitally transformed enterprise operations. I must say the drive towards this digital transformation, however, requires change and restructuring for our business models towards the achievement of operational excellence in the areas of efficiency, effectiveness, and superior customer experience, but also all aimed at customer centricity and empowered workforce with digital skills. Let me say that digital transformation of Africa's trade and tourism frontiers similarly requires transition of the informal sectors of our economies to the formal sectors through digitalization to withstand market disruptions, be sustainably competitive, and bridge the inequality gap for inclusive digitalization of trade and tourism so no one is left behind. With the anticipated increase of about 33% intra-Africa trade from its paltry under 15% level, and the multiplier effect in tourism following the implementation of the Africa Continental Free Trade Zone area from year 2021, Africa's growing youth population of up to about 60% requires the digital skills development responsive to the labor market needs in the areas of data analytics, coding, app development, programming, and artificial intelligence to leapfrog the digitalization and the digital transformation in trade and tourism, particularly in pandemics as we are experiencing now. So, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished panel, on this note, I would like to thank once again the Chamber of Tourism Ghana and ADCOTT for this brilliant initiative and wish all speakers and participants a very successful virtual conference. Thank you very much for this opportunity and wish you all the best of luck. Thank you.
Patrick Yedase, we thank you very, very much, Mr. Kwesi Eyison. We are delighted at the Chamber for Tourism Industry Ghana to have the support of, GHATOF and TUGA, where you operate. Remember, you are watching the live webinar of the Africa Digitization Conference on Tourism and Trade. We are streaming it live from the NDPC, National Development Planning Commission in Accra, Ghana. And we are in the company of distinguished speakers, which we are very proud to have. Remember that everyone who is not speaking has to mute themselves, please. And I want to remind you that in our lineup of 15 top speakers, we do have with us Honorable Anne-Sophie Ave, French Ambassador to Ghana, as well as Mr. Sol Molobi of Grand Hill, Africa, former South African Consulate General to Italy. We will soon head over to the French Embassy, but first we're going to go all the way to South Africa to talk to Mr. Sol Molobi. Sol, are you please online? And if you are, please unmute yourself and present yourself to the audiences. Mr. Sol, can you please hear us? Hello, Mr. Sol. All right, so okay, there we go. Hello. Please unmute yourself, Mr. Sol. We don't hear you. So you don't seem to be muted, but please check your computer settings. In the meantime, what we're going to do now is, if you're still preparing yourself, okay, there we go. There we go. I think we're making some progress here, but we cannot hear you still. So it could be a settings with your computer audio. What we could do in the meantime, what I would propose is that you check your computer audio to make sure that you can be heard. But in the meantime, what we will do is we're going back to Ghana, where we are streaming live, and we are going to go to the French Embassy with Honorable Anne-Sophie Ave, whom we are very proud to have in the lineup. Madam Anne-Sophie Ave, there we go. Can you unmute yourself? Bonjour. Bonjour.
Bonjour. Hello. Je vais bien, merci. I think we have to carry on in English, otherwise we're going to lose it.
Let's do that.
For your French. Thanks very much for having me, and congratulations for this opportunity of gathering people around this theme of tourism. I was wondering why you very kindly invited me, and but you said that France is a high place of tourism.
Exactly.
But on top of that, I think the French are probably very demanding tourists. Maybe that's this point of view and this vision that you would like me to share. So as you well know, the French are very attached to their 36 days leave, paid leave, and they are preparing for their holidays all year long, looking forward to it. And the very first place where they go is normally France. And during the COVID-19, the French were the #1 French tourists, and France is the #1 destination for the French. Yet, more and more, when they can travel overseas, they are happy to go and discover places. In Ghana, we have 1,300 French. So the testimony I'm going to share is what I understand from what the French are looking for when they're traveling abroad and discovering countries, and what the French in Ghana have had as experiences when they traveled around Ghana. And just adding to it, one of the reasons why one of the angle we are cooperating with Ghana is precisely in the area of tourism, where we are for 2020, 2021, we're running a program where we exchange some knowledge, and we are trying to do some capacity building to train some Ghanaians to value their assets and know how to present all the assets they have through museums, or because you do have a lot of assets. So it just takes a little maybe capacity building, or just pointing out the things that you don't realize would be of some interest for foreigners, and namely for the French. What I'd like to say is that when the French go overseas to travel, they do not expect to find the exact same thing wherever they go. If they want to have a feel of Asian culture, they will go to Asia. If they want to have something that is more or less artificial and have the beautiful beaches, be they artificial, they will go to Dubai. So it's important that wherever they go, they find something different, and that is typical of the area that they're visiting. If they want a wonderful safari, they will go to Kenya or some places in South Africa. So what Ghana needs to find is what their assets are and what they have to show that no one else could show, so that when people say we've been to Ghana, it's not like they've been anywhere, but they have been able to see and experience things that they have not experienced anywhere. We are quite tempted now by what we call cultural tourism. It's no longer lying on the beach and getting tanned. It's also learning something. So there's a lot to learn if you go to Ghana that only needs to be probably a bit more organized. We would like to learn about Kente. And if there was a circuit where you can see how this tradition of Kente has been created, what is it about, how to weave it, and how to wear it, and what it means, and all the designs of Kente. There's a lot to tell about that, but this chain has to be organized. Same about cocoa. I'm sure that people would like to have knowledge about how this whole production chain is existing, and where does that come from. Same for Shibata. You have so much to share in Ghana about your traditions and value. If you are lucky to go and visit traditional chiefs and have a guide who explains to you all the traditions and the protocol, you learn a lot about the values that are being shared and that are so important, and that are the foundation of the Ghanaian people and society. And also we like to have the very traditional things. We wouldn't like Ghana to become a tourism area made of concrete that would look like any other area. Like in some places, for instance, in Morocco, it is so typically directed for tourists, where any goods that are sold are much more expensive because they are targeting the tourists. So what you need to find to keep in Ghana is the genuine side of feel of Africa. So developing tourism is cherishing the values and the core values heritage that you have. You also have a very important history and heritage. Most of the French and European don't know anything about Africa before the end of colonization, but Africa wasn't born in the 1960s. You have thousand years history, and it's important that somehow either through museum or through circuits of visits, you can show that Africa was there for a long time and has a very strong traditions. And again, those traditions explain the values that are keeping the society together. And this is something that through museums or through circuits you could do. The last thing, because you probably need to attract the tourists, have a diversity of offer, culture, history, but also some sort of sports activities or something a bit more dynamic. And that's another asset of Ghana. You have a diversity of sightseeing and of places where you can do hiking circuits, and surprise people, because if you go to the Volta region, it looks so much like the center of France, where it's so green. It's like mountains. You could use this area for hiking, provided all this is very carefully channeled to make sure that the nature, the bio-environment is not damaged by tourism. This is something that you wouldn't want either. So I think there's a lot to be done in Ghana. It's started. It's not like there is nothing. You have the Kakum Park, you have the Botanical Garden, you have the forts. Some of them have been refurbished, but I think you have a chance to develop tourism, but at the same time stick to your core values and make sure you preserve all these very cherished assets, so that they do not become a big concrete jungle. So yeah, I think that you could very easily attract, but of course you need to promote, of course, Ghana in France, because much as we know Côte d'Ivoire, we know Togo, we know Benin, we know all the former French colonies pretty well. Well, most French have never heard about Ghana. So everything has to be done. You start from fresh in the spirit of the French. We don't have any prejudice. We don't know anything about it. So I think you have a huge opportunity to advertise for Ghana in France, but also in the entire Europe. Thank you very much.
Thank you for this incredible keynote address, Honorable Anne-Sophie Ave. Thank you also for muting yourself now that you've finished speaking. Remember the housekeeping rules: mute yourself if you're not talking. Indeed, Africa wasn't born in the 1960s. The history of the continent goes thousands of years ago. We're going to check now if we can go back to South Africa, where Mr. Sol Molobi, our final keynote address speaker, can be heard now. He was facing challenges with his audio, but let's see if now the case is resolved. And if it is not, we will just continue, because we have a surprise. We have Wigala with an exclusive performance for this event. So let's first check in South Africa if Mr. Sol Molobi can be heard loud and clear. Hello? No. Unfortunately, it looks like we're having the same problem again. So what I would suggest is if you can get any help to fix these audio problems, because he does have a fantastic presentation to show us, actually a PowerPoint presentation. So what we're going to do is let's just proceed with the program right now. One thing that I would want to show you is Wiyala's thoughts on tourism herself. Let's see what she has to say. She, of course, joined us, not live, but she's joining us. And she recorded something for us regarding her thoughts on tourism. Wiyala is going to play some exclusive songs for us at the webinar. Let's see what she has to say regarding tourism as an internationally acclaimed artist from Ghana.
Hello, my name is Wiyala, aka the Lioness of Africa. I'm a musician, a songwriter, and a performer from Ghana, Fonsi in the Upper West region. And a lot of my performances are abroad. For that matter, let me say, most of my performances are on the international stages. And mostly when I go out there, people ask me, how is Africa like? Or what is Africa like? The experience. And I tell them, Africa is a great place. You need to come and experience Africa and see how beautiful and wonderful the people are. And when you come to Africa, every country has its own cultural values, traditional values, their way of life, the food they eat, you know, everything is a little bit different from each country. So, for example, if you come to Ghana, where I come from, you realize that there are so many regions in Ghana, and the capital being Accra is big, it's really well developed. And when you get there, you're going to see so many beautiful buildings and houses, and the people are amazing. And to experience Ghana more, you go into the rural areas, like the villages, the small communities, like my community in Fonsi. If you come, or when you come here, you get to experience the culture, the tradition, the way we live, the way we love, the way we farm, the way we cook, the roles and values of men and women, and children, and everything that has to do with lifestyle, culture, and art and entertainment. So, yeah, come to Ghana, come to Africa, and come and experience a lot of things for yourself. Africa is a beautiful place, and you're all welcome.
Honorable Dr. Ziblin Barry, can you please hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure joining you on this Africa Digitization Conference on Tourism and Trade. I must say that I had the privilege of launching this conference earlier this year, and little did I know when I launched it that we would not be able to welcome all of you to our beautiful city of Accra. Nonetheless, we have the opportunity of this platform to welcome all of you and say that this conference is something that will bring the minds all across the continent to discuss important matters affecting trade and tourism in our continent. We hope that hopefully next year we should be able to do this conference in real time, meeting face to face and be able to interact the way we do here in Africa. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, trade and tourism are powerful forces in the economy of every country and regional level at large. Very much so, the trajectory towards a digital economy of interconnected cluster has a profound impact in the lives of our people and business partners. As you are aware, we Africans have in the last couple of years decided to deepen our trade relations with the common enforce of the African Continental Free Trade Area. It is unacceptable that whereas Europe and Asia and the Americas are integrating in the range of 40 to 60%, we in Africa are still below 20%. As somebody indicated earlier on, our integration is around 16 to 17%, which is not acceptable. I am happy to announce that just last week, His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, handed over the official building for the African Continental Free Trade. It is our hope that the dreams of our forebears, Kwame Nkrumah and others who put forward the building blocks, putting together a continental free trade area, an African economy that will integrate in ways that we see in the European Union. That this African trade continental area will be the final realization of that dream of Kwame Nkrumah and others. And so we are proud that here in Ghana, we were given opportunity to host this headquarters, and our government has made available this building. Hopefully, beginning January 2021, we will have this free trade area come into full force. We appreciate the bottlenecks and we know the challenges that we are all facing in the continent, especially when it comes to connectivity, as far as travel is concerned. And we pray that this free trade area will further open our borders and will make it possible for Africans to travel freely and interact and do businesses in ways that will enhance the progress of this continent and the well-being of our citizenry. It is envisaged that with our 1 billion plus population, we can improve trade relations by removing barriers to goods, services, and people to move seamlessly. This will enhance economic activities, strengthening local businesses, and human development. Tourism, ladies and gentlemen, is the impetus that strengthens the bonds of friendship, gives opportunities for people to travel and experience the rich culture and our diverse, beautiful continent has to offer. I was profoundly proud to hear our friend from Turkey and Her Excellency, the Ambassador of France, speaking well of Ghana and well of Africa, and reminding us that we have unique opportunities to show the world the other side of Africa. And this will propel tourism in Africa, but not only that, will create opportunities for people to come and invest in our beautiful continent. And so the conference that you have put together will offer opportunity for the right and the best brains in the continent to come together as we have you on the webinar to exchange ideas and streamline the measures that we need to put in place to enhance tourism and trade in Africa. Over recent years, tourism and trade has enjoyed rapid growth and geographic diversification in the African continent, becoming one of the fastest growing and most important economic sectors in Africa, contributing nearly 3.9% growth to world gross domestic product. Above all, the world growth rate is generating jobs, and Africa continues to also tap in this opportunity where we have at least 1 in every 11 jobs created out from tourism. And so we believe that the synergy between trade and tourism is a beautiful recipe to lead in the African Renaissance that we all look up to. Tourism accounts to 11% of export earnings, while Africa travel and passenger transport accounts for $269 billion to the GDP of the continent. And so this conference could not have been organized at any better opportune time. We are going through challenges in the tourism sector, the hardest hit sector because of this COVID-19 pandemic that we are all facing. But I'm happy that as I see around the continent, not just here in Ghana, our friends in Nigeria and Senegal and Ivory Coast and all over the continent, people are gearing up and getting themselves ready for the post-COVID-19 tourism. And we have put in place in place. Nigeria has already opened up their airports. Ghana is going to follow soon. I know Kenya and Rwanda and other countries have put measures in place to make sure that we have safe travel into the continent. And so those who think that tourism will die as a result of COVID, we should think again. COVID has rather given us more opportunity and new challenges, and we are going to use digital measures and leverage digitization in our tourism sector to take advantage of the 21st century technology. Developing countries all over the world, and for that matter, Africa as a continent, plays an increasing important role in this growing sector. Emerging and developing economies will contribute 57% of all international tourist arrivals by 2030. The tourism sector is contributing to economic growth in those countries and offers significant further potential. Tourism is labor intensive and has linkages to many other parts of the economy. It contributes directly to poverty reduction, notably among women, recognized by policymakers both at the national and intercontinental levels. And so this conference offers a great opportunity for us to further enhance the contribution that tourism has to make in making sure that we turn this continent to the beautiful continent that we all aspire to. Between now and 2030 and beyond, the realization of trade and development in Africa is important. In the new 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and its Sustainable Development Goals, tourism is specifically identified in SDGs 8, 12, and 14, highlighting the sector's potential to contribute to economic growth and social inclusion and environmental preservation. Ladies and gentlemen, to fully achieve this potential, a more strategic approach towards the links between tourism, trade, and all stakeholders along the tourism and trade value chain is essential. We are committed to sustainable tourism as a total tool to realizing the dreams of the SDGs. In 2019, His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, led a successful year of return tourism and trade initiative, which led to significant results in tourist arrivals, as well as a big boost in economic gains. The President, in his wisdom, at the end of 2019, launched what we call the Beyond the Return. And this is a 10-year project that the President tasked the Ghana Tourism Authority under the Ministry of Tourism to develop programs and projects in the next 10 years that will transform not only Ghana, but tourism in Africa. Of course, using Ghana as a gateway to Africa. Even though 2020 has really gotten bad for us because of the pandemic, we are working assiduously to make sure that the next 9 years will be the years that we will implement this Beyond the Return agenda to the full success of the agenda. The government of Ghana has identified tourism as a strategic pillar for the transformation of the economy of Ghana, and we are doing everything to promote tourism in Ghana. I was glad to hear from the French ambassador the good things that she identifies about tourism in Ghana, but I'm also happy to inform her that we are working hard to improve on the shortcomings that she highlighted in her address. At the Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture, we recognize that tourism and trade constitute the driving pillars of commerce and travel in Africa. For tourism and trade to thrive, we need to deepen our digital knowledge, utility, and electronic applications on our continent. Through events like this conference, we are able to meet, learn, and share experiences from our continental siblings in overcoming challenges and forging ahead with homegrown measures with global reach for improving these pivotal industries. It is our belief that through this webinar organized by the Chamber for Tourism Industry Ghana, we shall bring all the tourism and trade businesses, as well as all stakeholders who support tourism and trade business, to strategically identify the support that we need to progress. The government, under the able leadership of His Excellency, the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana, is vigorously pursuing a digitization policy aimed at getting an enabling environment for efficient service delivery in tourism, trade, and commerce. We believe that we have to leverage on digitization and mainstream digitization in all our activities in promoting tourism here in Ghana. This conference, therefore, will not have been organized at any better opportunity time. The time that the government is building on the infrastructure and building on digitization and making sure that every aspect of the economy here in Ghana is digitized and easy for people to embark on. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is my hope that our efforts will contribute immensely to help connect the tourism and trade sectors with cutting-edge technologies championed by African talents, and the Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture looks forward to working collaboratively with all our continental brothers and sisters so that we can enhance the ecosystem and ensure that digitization will be to the advantage of promoting trade and tourism in the continent. I trust that the esteemed speakers and distinguished participants on this conference will do justice to the burning issues of interest and concern to the progress of trade and tourism in our continent. On this note, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor and privilege to declare the Africa Digitization Conference and Trade on Tourism, ADCOTT 2020, duly launched. Long live Africa trade and tourism, long live Africa relations, and may God continue to bless our motherland, Africa. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Honorable Dr. Ziblim Barry Adi, Deputy Minister for Tourism at the Ministry of Tourism, Creative Arts and Culture of Ghana. We are so glad that the Chamber for Tourism Industry Ghana to have the support of MOTAC. It means a lot to us. Thank you for this powerful speech, and thank you for gracing our distinguished lineup of speakers. You are watching the Africa Digitization Conference on Tourism and Trade. I would like to apologize to all those streaming on YouTube who are facing internet issues, saying that the transmission is breaking. Our IT department is working hard to boost the internet so that the stream can be very smooth and you can enjoy this. Again, we are so happy that you are joining us from your various locations around the world. You are watching the maiden edition of ADCOTT via Google Meet, and we are about to have the opening plenary session. But first, we're going to try one last time if we can go back to South Africa to our keynote speaker, Sol Molobi, and let's see if now he can do his presentation. So Sol Molobi, one last try. Can you please hear us?
Hello, can you hear me now?
Fantastic. Thank you so much for being online. Please take the floor.
Okay, I will suggest that you distribute my presentation. In the interest of time, I will just quickly go through it, but the full presentation could be shared with everyone.
Sure, this is possible. So we are going to try and present your presentation at our end. In the meantime, please begin with what you have to say. To all the people watching this now, we're about to try and display the presentation of our keynote speaker, Mr. Sol Molobi. So we'll see how things go. We do hope that you can all see the screen now. If you do not see it, then please share some feedback. And it looks like we are through, so we can go ahead. Mr. Sol, please go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, go to slide number 2. Perhaps I should start by saying thank you, Program Director, the leadership of the Chamber for Tourism and Industry, Ghana, all excellencies present in the audience, distinguished panel of speakers, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. The first part of my presentation quotes Isaiah 49, verse 16. But for me, it aims to speak to the centrality of modern technology. Today, palm readers have lost their jobs because the only sign that matters on your palm is your fingerprint, because the cell phone has taken over the central space on our palms. And as a result, you have the whole world right in the palm of your hand. And through that, you are able to live your life and to communicate with everybody around the world. Go to the next slide. on the new personality, and I would love to read this one. It's a quotation from Thomas Sankara, who said, "You cannot carry out fundamental change without a certain amount of madness. In this case, it comes from non-conformity, the courage to turn your back on the old formulas, the courage to invent the future. It took the madmen of yesterday for us to be able to act with extreme clarity today. I want to be one of those madmen. We must dare to invest the future," close quote. This basically says Africa needs to inculcate a culture of innovation. And we know that this exceptional talent in our continent is often discouraged by patronage, brutal political repression, and in some instances, even the prevalence of inadequate corporate governance culture. And I deliberately use this concept instead of corruption, which I believe is being imposed on us in our vocabulary. The exceptional talent means 1 + 1 is not 2, but it's 3. Nawal El-Saadawi, the Egyptian writer, said, "Creativity starts with disobedience." And Steve Jobs went further to say that, in fact, these non-conformists are the crazy ones, and they have no respect for the status quo as they push the human race forward. Harvard Business Review recently said, "This is the rebel talent that we should be appreciating." The next slide, titled Brand Africa Siege, is that even though if you look at the map of Africa, you find it is extremely colorful, but many people still believe, as Joseph Conrad wrote in 1899, that Africa is a dark continent. Simon Arnold, who is considered an authority on nation brand, says while Germany is known for its engineering, France with chic, Japan with miniaturization, Italy with flair, Sweden with design, Britain with class, Switzerland with precision, Africa is known for famine, disease, and terror. President Donald Trump referred to African countries and Haiti as whole countries in 2018, and the University of Southern California, in fact, has done an excellent study in February 2019, where they showed the damage that was caused by President Trump's statement on Africa. Let's quickly go to what needs to be done. Basically, Africa needs to re-engineer its brand, and the best way for us to do that is to use the opportunities presented to us by the Africa Free Continental Agreement. And perhaps I should quote Socrates, who said, "The way to gain a reputation is to endeavor to be what you desire to appear." This message should resonate across the African continent. Let's go down to the next slide, the next one. The one where it shows internet usage across Africa. The slide basically says, even though internet connectivity has increased in Africa, there are still many challenges. And in fact, the African Union in the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement policy document states that the majority of Africans are still marginalized as they have no access to internet. And this impacts negatively on online shopping, on access to government services, on even delivery of government services to ordinary people. And it says that, research shows that if we were to expand internet connectivity at the same rate as high-income countries, 140 million jobs could be created, and over $2.2 trillion could be added to Africa's GDP. Let's go down again. Even though my colleague earlier on stated that the challenge of the outbreak of the pandemic gives us an opportunity to become creative, the UN has indicated that, in fact, this pandemic, the impact of it on tourism figures will take us back to the figures of 1998. So it's very, very devastating. Let's go to the last but one slide so that we save time to say, what is it that we need to do as African countries? And in this instance, I'm going to refer to what we do as Brand Hill Africa, that we are brand repositioning Africa's image, and we are also brand positioning Africa's products. We are in actual fact commercializing Africa's intellectual property. We also try to open global market access for Africa's brands. In fact, a survey conducted by Brand Africa has indicated that, in fact, only 20% of Africa's homegrown brands are recognized by Africans. The majority of Africans respect and worship foreign brands. And we are saying we need to be re-engineering the brand, not only of the continent, but of all the projects and the products and the services that we are producing as Africa. In conclusion, Brand Hill Africa will be launching a portal called Jumbo Africa Online on the 1st of September, and we hope to become a guide to the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement. As I indicated, the full presentation will be shared with everyone, and let me thank the Chamber for Trade, for Tourism and Industry, Ghana, for having afforded us this opportunity to share our views with everyone. Thank you very much, and do enjoy this conference as it is very groundbreaking. Those are my contacts on the screen. You are free to get in touch with me. Thank you, and congratulations once again to our Ghanaian comrades and friends who have put this excellent August event together. Thank you.
Thank you very much to our keynote speaker, Mr. Sol Molobi of Brand Hill Africa, chairman and founder, also the former South African Consulate General to Italy. We are now nearing our next event at this webinar, and this is the very anticipated opening plenary. Before I proceed, to everyone on the webinar, please do close off your camera. Please close your camera, as this will help us boost the internet connection so that people streaming it on YouTube can enjoy it smoothly. So please turn off your cameras. And thank you all for being mute, very disciplined there. So we're going to proceed now and welcome our speakers for the opening plenary. Beatrice Shator, Senior Expert Trading Services at the African Union Commission, could not join us in person due to a very urgent last-minute commitment, but she has sent in her answers, so we will be playing that when it's her turn. We have Mr. Fergus McLaren, who is joining us all the way from Canada. I know it's very early at his end, 6 a.m. Mr. Fergus, are you on the line with us? If you are, please turn on your camera and unmute yourself, as you will be one of the speakers for this opening plenary. It seems like Fergus is around.
I am around.
Thank you very much. Nice to have you. Let me proceed with the rest of the speakers. We have Esther Ama-Asante, CEO of Organic Trade and Investment, who is also joining us from Ghana. Please, Esther, if you can hear us, do show your camera, unmute yourself, because the open plenary session is indeed on the way. Esti is joining us shortly. Esti, can you hear us?
Yeah, I hear you. Yes, I'm here.
Perfect. Perfect. We finally have Madam Caroline Kimunto, ITC Associate Program Officer. She's joining us all the way from Geneva. Madam Caroline, can you hear us loud and clear? If you can, please unmute yourself, show your face, and let's get started very, very soon.
Hello.
Hello, hello. So are we all in loud and clear? It's nice to see that we have so many people on the webinar joining us. What we're going to do right now is we are going to start off, and yes, people cannot speak. Please mute yourself if you're not part of the speakers opening plenary session. We still have some people joining us, although latecomers, but this is where we are at. Anyways, the theme for this opening plenary session is pushing Africa's tourism and trade frontiers through digitization during pandemics. For one last time, I would ask people who are not part of this opening plenary session to please turn their cameras off. Please turn your camera off if you're not part of this opening plenary session. Please turn your cameras off. Before we proceed, we want to make sure that people have this correctly. Yes. This is a huge topic indeed. It's indeed a huge topic because this is going to permit Africans to find solutions to the terrains in tourism, trade, and digitization. There are a lot of issues on the ground, cultural heritage tourism, which could greatly benefit from digitization. African, ministries for tourism also tend to be underfunded. So how are we going to proceed? How can we find sustainable solutions for that? We also know that African countries use less local content than countries in other developing emerging regions. For example, countries like Tanzania, importing their hotel furniture and all of this, contributing to hotel room rates being so high. This is also a problem in the tourism sector. Another issue is the high cost of airfares and utilities, heavy reliance on imported goods and services. Tours in the sub-Saharan African region are estimated to cost travelers 25 to 35% more than tours in other parts of the world, contributing to people deciding to traveling less. Another issue, finally, is also sports tourism, which is almost non-existent. The Chamber for Tourism Industry Ghana released a press release some 3 weeks ago to highlight how sports tourism is an untapped market in Ghana particularly. But as we are going into this topic, we want to start off with the issue of air travel. Air travel in Africa being twice as expensive as that in Latin America, 4 times that in the United States. Can you just imagine? So my question to our distinguished speaker, Madam Esther Ama-Asante, who joined us from Ghana, is how can digitized trade and tourism offer a solution to reduce the cost of air travel in Africa? Madam Esther, can you hear us?
Thank you very much for giving me the floor. I hear you clear and loud. Yes. Anyway, I will want to start with the fact that the current situation we are in is, if you look at the reports we have from the World Economic Forum, you see that there's a huge gap between travelers from Africa and other nations. While Africans make up about 12% of the world's population, they are only 2.5% of the world's passengers. So there's a problem here. And the root cause is that there are several barriers and challenges that exist. And these include, but not limited to, the poor connectivity, lack of proper infrastructure, liberalization, and high ticket costs. And taking a typical scenario, for instance, it's easier to travel from Africa to Europe or ship goods from Africa to Europe than to move cargo or travel within the continent. The reason being that there is no direct flight between African countries, and an African traveler has no other way but to fly to second or even third country before reaching the final destination within the continent. And unfortunately, due to lack of political willpower in some cases and proper planning, airport infrastructure in most African countries is obsolete and not able to serve the growing volume of passengers of movement of cargo. And another issue is that airlines and airports are often managed by government entities or regulatory bodies, leading to corruption and prevention of private investment. So it is estimated that on average, low-cost carrier about 1/4 of all flights globally. And however, in Africa, they are below 10%. And this is the main reason why ticket prices are somewhat so expensive on the continent. But we should see all these challenges as opportunities. In the first place, we know that aviation sector in Africa has the potential to fuel economic growth. The continent counts over 400 airlines and has 730 airports, with an aviation industry that supports about 7 million jobs and around 80 million in economic activity. So pre-COVID-19 already, there was a focus on digital marketing and economy and e-commerce as a way of reaching new markets, engaging customers, and building or strengthening brands. So according to the Insight, for instance, latest report that you see online on the and opportunities of e-commerce for trade and development, much of the digital innovation in the last few years is taking place on the continent of Africa. And indeed, the fight against the COVID-19, some government in Africa, and I'm referring to the Ministry of Trade and SMEs in Senegal and the Ministry of ICT in Uganda in particular, they partnered with the private sector to facilitate delivery of essential goods and services through e-commerce to support health system and public service delivery. And it is obvious that digital economies and technologies have important implications for the tourism sector and businesses of all sizes. For the structure and operations of tourism value chains and the sector as a whole. More than ever before, I believe that facilitating and enabling digitization in tourism is a key policy challenge. But now, the way forward, I think governments across the world, and Africa in particular, must take advantage of this crisis to prepare the tourism sector for digital future. And the future is now. When we talk about the future, it's thanks to Corona, future is now, and we will emphasize on the key role of government in creating the right framework conditions for the digital transformation of tourism business models and the wider tourism ecosystem, such as championing intercontinental aviation for the economic and social benefit for the African aviation sector. And I also think that government must identify a number of key policy concerns to foster digital technology uptake and use by tourism SMEs. One other point I think I have to talk about will be that all stakeholders and key players must be actively involved in the discussion on trade facilitation among African countries, finding solutions to affordable and reliable connectivity, putting in place measures that will harmonize trade procedures and transit regimes and trade facilitation monitoring tools such as encouraging the use of mobile payments. Will also encourage more African countries to sign up to the single African air transport market introduced in 2019 with the aim to open up African airspace and improve intra-African air connectivity, and hopefully the inclusion of the e-commerce on the agenda of the African continental free trade area will indeed facilitate more regional cross-border digital transaction and business. Thank you.
Very interesting points, Madam Esther. You were in the aviation sector, I believe, from 2015 to 2018. Quickly, before we take comments from Madam Beatrice GHATOF from the AU Commission, I want to know, did you notice, because you were the quality manager and commercial manager at Swiss Sports Limited, which is a multinational company from Switzerland, I want to know if you noticed an increase in trade, be it intercontinental or regional in the country, because you were dealing with cargo, I believe.
Yes, indeed, I was dealing with cargo because Swiss Sport is a grand handler. Unfortunately, most of our goods were from Africa to Europe or other parts of the world. And like I mentioned earlier on, doing business in Africa is extremely difficult because of lots of barriers that are put in place. In my case, for instance, having also to manage a company called Organic Trade Investment, and we are into e-commerce and export trading. The problem we are facing and we are currently facing is shipping goods from West Africa to East Africa. It's something that cannot be done overnight because they require you to get a certificate of conformity and other whole document that it's really slowing down business and trade between Africans. Meanwhile, in other countries, for instance, it's so easy to move cargo or even human movements. So it's something that it's still on discussion, and I hope that with the African free trade area, something is going to be done and quickly and fast, because we have lots of potentials in Africa, and if we utilize whatever we have on the continent and we open up our borders strategically, I think we will benefit from it more than ever.
Excellent points, valid points made. Thank you so much. Your point about the African continental free trade area was indeed well noted. The good thing is that we have Madam Beatrice GHATOF. She's not with us live, but she pre-recorded her answers. And the follow-up question we have on Madam Esther Maasante's wonderful contributions to open this opening plenary session is basically about the visa requirements, because we're talking about trade, right? We're talking about how digitization can offer, a solution to reduce a cost of air travel in Africa. We want more movement. Yes, more movement of goods, more movement of people. But the question really at this point is that, when we are relaxing visa requirements for the people, when we are we are trying to reduce the rigid visa requirements due to frontiers slowing down the movement of goods and people on the continent, whilst canceling or relaxing all of that, we also know that this could intensify the risk of fraudulent activities because things move so fast. So the question, we will first take this answer from Madam Beatrice, and I know that Madam Esther, you also have a point to make on that. But the question is, what role really can digitization play in offering a healthy balance between relaxed visa policies and at the same time, keep corruption in check. So we have Madam Beatrice who shared her views on that. She is a senior, expert in trading services at the African Union.
What role can digitization play in offering a healthy balance between relaxed visa policies and keeping corruption in check? Well, the most significant initiative for digital transformation is the African Continental Free Trade Area. Reducing import and export duties and trade restrictions will create a huge market with an enormous potential for productivity among firms and businesses in Africa, including in the tourism sector. And now we have the AU Digital Trade and Transformation Strategy, which was launched at the last AU Summit in February 2020. And it provides a path to the use of digital trade and e-commerce to help catalyze the development of certain industries like tourism. But a key policy issue that affects the tourism sector concerns the free movement of people. The idea is to keep people moving and enabling their easy choices about their tourism destinations. In the context of the AFCFTA, we want people to choose African destinations and thereby develop the African tourism market. Maintaining restrictions such as visa requirements limits the opportunities for regional tourism. This is why we are urging African Union member states to continue to ratify the AFCFTA agreement, which has already entered into force, and also to sign and ratify the AU Protocol on Free Movement, under which the AU passport is being rolled out. Imagine if all Africans were able to move freely in each other's countries using the AU passport. That would be an important step in driving the development of the tourism industry across the continent. We see practice already across Africa in relation to simplified or liberal visa policies, such as Seychelles, which requires no entry visas, or the East African community, where there is a single tourist visa for countries moving between Kenya, Uganda, and Rwanda. And then you have Ghana, Kenya, Rwanda that require no entry visas for all African countries. Among ECOWAS countries, free movement of persons has been established for years using the ECOWAS passport and residence card or permit. Now the West African countries are considering establishment of a regional visa called the ECO visa that will facilitate movement of visitors within the sub-region. Of course, digitization is a powerful tool for ensuring transparency, for contributing to efficiency, increasing productivity, and for shortening the length of applications and other processes. This actually helps to create certainty and predictability for business and leisure visitors. Digitization can help to reduce excessive and duplicative regulation and cut down on informal payments. Use of e-visas has helped countries like Ethiopia and Rwanda increase passenger and tourist numbers to both countries. Imagine if the eco visa is an e-visa from the very beginning, so that there's less hassle for visitors to West Africa, which is backed up by the ease of e-payments. That said, it should be underlined that digitization can only play a role where there are already standards and systems in place for interacting with visitors and for receiving them at the point of entry. There's no point having an e-visa process in place and then having visitors being subjected to unprofessional immigration officers or airport staff when they arrive. The idea should be to take a comprehensive approach to processes and procedures for visa and immigration, and then build on that with digitization to make the overall experience by visitors and even residents a good one for them.
Excellent points from Madam Beatrice Chato, who couldn't join us due to a last-minute, urgent commitment. So, but we will still have some thoughts from her moving on in the opening plenary. And before we move to Mr. Fergus McLaren in the in Canada, sorry, Madam Esther, you wanted to make a point on this same matter regarding how relaxing visa requirements could you know, create more corruption, and then due to that, how digitization could offer, you know, a solution by balancing all of that. So, Madam Esther, please, if you are still on the line with us, can you share your brief opinion on that, and then we will move into to take thoughts on another topic from Mr. Ferguson in Canada.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Andrew. Indeed. So, like I was saying, the question of visas needs rethinking seriously, and in the context of easing movements of people and boosting tourism on the continent, it will not be wise to rigidify visa policies. It's rather unfortunate that acquiring visa for intra-Africa travel remains a big challenge. As you can see, only a few countries in Africa offer visas upon arrival to African nationals, and it's proven that relaxing visa policies on the continent will underpin Africa's tourism sector and will create jobs for our youth, boosting economic growth in the areas of hotels, transport, restaurants, and the malls. And a typical example is with Rwanda, who is a strong supporter of visa-free Africa. After easing visa restriction by introducing a visa on arrival for all African citizens and abolishing work permits for East African citizens, you see that the country saw a spectacular increase in tourism arrivals of more than 20%, and a 50% increase in intra-African trade. And African countries that have embarked on a visa liberalization scheme expected to grow by more than 8% annually over the next 20 years. Then again, how digitization can be used to manage our borders and fight corruption efficiently will all depend on the role regional organizations can or will play in aligning a visa policy with that of the African Continental Free Trade Area. So one of the main aspects we should look at, and this is for every government in Africa, is to tackle and fight corruption at our borders. It's important that border officials receive regular trainings activities to maintain quality standard and help them understand their responsibilities. Clear operating procedures must be established, and every border staff should be held to account for any breaches. Another point will be that African countries must encourage cross-border cooperation. We must be open to share data with neighboring countries. This is a way of fighting any form of criminal activities. And the tool, one tool that government can use is digitization of payment system. You see millions of dollars are disappearing from government's coffins every year. Two countries in Africa, Rwanda and Tanzania, have adopted the use of connectivity and technology innovation measures to reduce leakage and increase revenue. Digitization of bus fares by the Rwandan government led the country to a 140% increase in revenue. So digitization of the system will definitely help government to tackle corruption, but we must not forget that human beings are behind this system, and therefore we should look beyond that and build stronger economies and governments by putting in place policies that will regulate our society and educate the people who are the first beneficiaries of good governance. Yeah.
Thank you very much for these solutions. We hope that people are taking notes, because definitely after ADCOTT, we will continue to follow up on all that can be done for Africa to develop its terrains of tourism, trade, and technology. On this note, we are heading live to Canada, where Mr. Fergus McLaren is joining us. A reminder that Mr. Fergus McLaren is the Director of International Relations and Knowledge Management at the Economic Innovation Institute for Africa. He has a vast, amount of experience in international tourism, and he also has a seat at the UNESCO So we are extremely proud to have him on the panel. Mr. Fergus McLaren, we are still going to go into the topic right away because time is running out, but we love all the contributions that we've had so far, and we have no we have no doubt that your contribution is going to be as rich as what we've heard so far. As we follow up on digitization, we know that it does require huge funding, but can a percentage of earnings in tourism and trade be possibly allocated to the digitization fund across Africa? Please share this, with us. Thank you. Mr. Fergus, please unmute yourself. Kindly unmute yourself.
There you go.
Thank you.
Much better. Thank you, Madame Angela. That was a great intro. Good very early morning from Canada. Bonjour, Akwaba. Very nice to meet you all. And greetings to friends, colleagues, and others who are joining us for this excellent event. About in a month's time, on September 27th, it's going to be World Tourism Day. 2 years ago, tourism organization had as its focus tourism and the digital transformation. That was the theme for World Tourism Day 2 years ago. The key aspect that they wanted to try and present was that digital technologies have the potential to disrupt the tourism sector, impacting the way destinations facilitate tourism, develop product, gather data, access markets, and attract visitors. This is in 2018. That was pre-COVID. And I think that's really important to recognize that there's a pivot that's going on right now, but with that pivot, that infrastructure, that ecosystem was already being built in terms of digital payments, in terms of communicating with people overseas via Zoom or Google Meet as we are right now. There are other ways in terms of booking engines, Wi-Fi connectivity, all these other facets that were very important in terms of the pre-COVID tourism circumstances, but they are now key to where we are right now to at least hold steady as we've seen numbers decline, but also as a basis that we can use to move forward. And this is when we start talking about investment and how do we use this money? Where should it go? Individual countries, regions, continental Africa. I mean, there's a sort of a landscape out there that we really have to think about in terms of how we are going to promote these different aspects of digitization to promote tourism in Africa, but what's also realistic in terms of the funding that can come from it and how it should be allocated. So, there are a couple of trends that have been going on in the there's person-to-person accommodation. You think of Airbnb, you're starting to see that a lot more in parts of Africa as well, where you're creating more local economies and more local accommodation. You have services like Booking.com or TripAdvisor, where you have peer-to-peer reviews. So you're getting more of a sense of a place through that sort of digital stream of communications. There are also platforms that are developing economies to leapfrog conventional destination management challenges, such as marketing, promotion, connecting partner services amongst each other, and to boost competitiveness of these destinations, either at a municipal level, a country level, or regional level. There are also partnerships that should be established between governments and international organizations, because a lot of the marketing dollars internationally or regionally are spent at the national and regional level. And it's really important to try and establish those places on the digital platforms and also the monetary support behind it. And finally, there is the need to find a way to provide those regions with things, for example, beyond the coast, beyond Kumasi, beyond some of the other more well-known places in the country, to drive tourism to places outside of the major urban centers and destinations. So you can use digital technologies for those purposes. So, there are a few things I just want to go through, and just, thinking about challenges, recommendations, and funding. Challenges right now, skills in terms of how we're going to use that digital funding, where is it going to be allocated towards. Finance is always the biggest challenge. In terms of the money, where it come from, how are you going to be able to allocate it? Infrastructure. Some countries in parts of Africa have better digital infrastructures than others. There's more uptake in terms of mobile communications and other sorts of supports that are there for like airports and roads and transport systems, services, etc. They're all part of that infrastructure. Mentoring support, who's working with who to bring people through academic programs or tourism, particularly in remote regions, to bring them on board onto this digital landscape. And finally, policy support. What is the government doing to support these kinds of initiatives, whether it's through the Continental Free Trade Area, whether through the ECO visa that was mentioned previously, whether it is other initiatives that can really support tourism across different aspects of the country's tourism sector. In terms of recommendations, policies are really important in terms of being appropriate, but also at the same time using digital means to try and encourage visitation. I've traveled in a number of countries around the world that use e-visas, such as Ethiopia or India, and it really helps to facilitate travel, because otherwise you're waiting for a week or two at high cost to obtain a visa, which really sets people off and they don't have their passport for that period of time. So e-visas, again, very important. Technical assistance. In many ways, some countries, Africa, some are more advanced than others in terms of their opportunity to absorb this money, but also to put it to use within their existing ecosystems. Access to reliable digital infrastructure, we've talked about that before. Some countries better Wi-Fi, some countries better digital backbones. Again, how are you able to work with that? And finally, research and development. There's a very good book out right now called Beyond the Valley that talks about made in Africa solutions that resolve different problems that are, you don't have to go to North America, you don't have to go to Europe. Best example of that is M-Pesa. And think of that as a digital currency that is there to ensure that there are opportunities to have made in Africa solutions to take part in and construct your own or improve your own digital landscapes. Finally, in terms of funding, as you mentioned before, it's one of the biggest issues in terms of participation. Some countries have gone towards or co-branding and partnering with different hotel chains, airlines, or others as part of their apps. And so when you go to someplace like the App Store, perhaps there's a way that you could get a percentage of that app sale to put into a digitization fund for that country, for that region, or for elsewhere. There's also the sale of cultural and intellectual property branded goods. So to that end, there are some goods that are specific to Ghana, for example, like kente, or some of the woodworking or other things that are part of cultural products, and how do you use that in other forms such as publications, weaving, greeting cards, etc., and how do you gain a percentage of that to put it towards a digital fund. You can also partner with curated tours and exclusive engagements and events. So you can have certain events at museums or destinations, such as in Kumasi or Tamale or elsewhere, at some of the World Heritage sites that are near Kumasi, like the Ashanti buildings there. And you can host events that can generate revenue towards the fund. There are also digital advertisements and web sponsorships of websites and digital exhibits. Again, you can do it either as a GoFundMe or as a price of entry. And finally, what I refer to as digital tombstones. So basically those elements that make it unique as a form of interaction, where if you were to visit a certain site, or a certain place, a certain destination virtually, there are ways that you can aspects of, if you come to this museum at Accra, or if you go to one of the castles in Elmira, or in Cape Coast, for example, there are ways you can get a certain amount of 10% off for a meal or for shopping or for something else, and a percentage of that can go in towards a digital fund. So there are all kinds of mechanisms that are there, but I think that you have to look at it from, as opposed to one big drop of cash from a grant or from a partner, look at it as a way of some sort of ongoing small percentage of funds that would accumulate quickly and effectively over time. So it's important to really look at it from the disruptive sort of perspective, but also as a way to say, you know, there are opportunities here that we can build on the culture and traditions of the country virtually and derive revenue from that to start building our digital presence across the continent. Thank you.
Wow, a lot of ideas right there that, like I said, viewers, I hope you were taking notes, because this is free knowledge on the plate, on the golden platter for all of us. A lot of solutions there to create some kind of funds for digitization. On this note, we should go to Geneva in Switzerland, if I'm right, where our opening plenary speaker, Madam Caroline Kemunto from the International Trade Center. She's the Associate Program Officer, and she's joining us. Madam Caroline, can you hear us, please?
Yes, I can. Hello, Angela.
Fantastic. So you know, we're talking about digitization, of course. We heard Mr. Fergus McLaren, who gave solutions to create a fund by some kind of taking some kind of some amount from other mechanisms. The question is, when that fund is done, right? Okay, but then we have to digitize archives in Africa, and we know it can be extremely expensive, and not just expensive, but also very time consuming, because it's something that you have to go through one at a time. When we are talking about archives, it could be books, it could be paintings. All of this, if we want to digitize them, they will need manpower. In other words, I mean, it is definitely an avenue for job creation in Africa's IT sector. The fact of the matter is, we really cannot talk about digitization, digitizing the tourism and trade terrains in Africa without accelerating technology innovations on the continent. Now, having said that, whilst African tourism and trade are visibly growing at a pretty much considerable rate, can we say the same really about its IT sector? Is it really up to speed? Is it ready to assist the economic potential from the tourism and trade sectors? Madam Caroline, please take the floor.
Thank you so much, Angela. I think Fergus had touched a lot on the points regarding your question, specifically on how it's not possible to digitize tourism and trade in Africa without accelerating technological innovations. We've seen that the IT sector is growing at a considerable rate, and it has already led to greater opportunities for other sectors through digitalization and also increasing efficiency through digitization. This can already be seen in Africa's major cities like South Africa, Nigeria, Kenya, Ethiopia, where consumers have disposable income, with more than half already having internet-capable devices, and also 3G networks are up and running. And also, we've seen that investments in African tech startups are also rising, with in 2018, investments reached around $1.2 billion. So this growing wave of innovation and the rise of incubators, accelerator hubs, e-commerce sites, digital entertainment platforms, mobile health technologies, online education content, they all pave the way for also the tourism sector to tap into. There's no point to try and reinvent a wheel, but more to really use already the existing capabilities around the market environment. On this note, we see that also the share of Africa's population that is going online is rising. Based on the Internet World Stats, we see that internet penetration in Africa in March was at 39%, with around 526 million internet users, compared to 16% only in 2013. So there's also an increase of internet penetration in Ghana, which is currently at 37%, Nigeria 61%, Kenya 87%, South Africa 56%, and Botswana 45%. So we can see that this has been due to urbanization, the rising middle class. We also have a very large youthful population that is embracing technology, and also the expanded coverage of internet in rural areas, the ease of accessibility of mobile networks and also the low cost of these mobile technologies. They're all paving the way for digitization for the tourism sector. So I can say that the internet has been a catalyst, can be a catalyst also for the tourism sector, especially in the sense that it's running parallel, digital technologies is running parallel with our culture and also just the tourism sector in itself, and modern technology is changing and how we experience them. But there definitely needs to be greater investment in that digital infrastructure. As you mentioned with archives, you need that information management, data management, also the right amount of human capital with required technological skills. So we need a workforce that has, for instance, quality education in maths and science, and also enrollment rates in tertiary education to be able to really handle digitizing archives and making sure human error is not there. So for these new technologies, I believe they're still continuing to be developed, and there's also no one-size-fits-all type of technology. Everything has to be according to the context of the different African countries. They're all facing different challenges or opportunities that they can all tap into. For instance, now we're seeing a lot of digital collections from museums, whether they're being posted online or sculptures are being digitized in 3D to enable online visitors to see every angle of the art piece. So there will be also a greater need for digital managers who can organize and interpret that content to best serve online customers. And to this extent, the IT sector can be a catalyst for changing the way, changing business models creatively, also improving that online content, and also empowering people working in the tourism sector to be more comfortable with digital. However, the pace also for digitization in some sectors of tourism due to lack of human resources, technological skills, unaffordable technology, and also communication facilities. These can also be overcome through partnerships and collaborations, especially with the IT startups or incubators or accelerator hubs. One example that I have is Andela. This startup recruits African software engineers, staff, and they train them in the campuses in Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda. They hire them out as full-time distributed teams to companies across Africa and the world. So tourism can really tap into the already existing capabilities that are around, especially with the AFCFTA. It's going to be much more easier to really cherry pick the type of skills that the tourism sector would need to digitize. So far, Andela has hired around 1,200 African developers over the past 4 years, and they're supplying their services to 200 companies worldwide. So I believe the tourism sector can become more successful in diversifying and also building on these existing capabilities and also the knowledge that the IT sector already has available, rather than trying to reinvent that wheel. We may also maybe see a rise of hybrid libraries that may help maybe virtual museums in that data and information management. So it would ease that burden of maybe not having that digital skills or the manpower that is needed to really digitize archives or in that sense. My last address is also that in order to really tap into the digital opportunities, we also need to reassess our strategies and adapt them in ways that are unique to each country. We can expect different levels of digital maturity across industries. This includes in leveraging digital technology, the extent of cultural innovation, the adoption of digital operations, and also the digital customer offerings of the countries themselves. We also cannot ignore that there is a digital divide due to the unequal access between people living in urban areas and also rural areas. So in order for us to have an enabling environment for tourism to digitize, There's a need for the government and the private sector to roll out internet access to also rural centers in the same way that it has with traditional infrastructure like basic services, sanitation, transport, and energy. Also, it should be a right for people to have internet access. Also to provide a healthy business environment, the same infrastructure, and also to increase digital literacy. Additionally, we've seen that the pandemic has illustrated how interconnected the world is, and diversifying our partnerships in the tourism sector, not just relying, for example, because we know how tourism touches upon different sectors like agribusiness, like textiles, but not so much on IT unless it needs to be a means to an end, maybe using through digital marketing, for instance. But we really now need to tap into diversifying our partnerships to capture these economic opportunities. And this would include partnerships between the government, businesses, local and international, labor, and also academia, because they would provide that research and development aspect that the tourism sector would need. And this would also help in changing mindsets and also implementing the right policies to create an environment for knowledge sharing and execution. That is my address to you.
Wow, fantastic address, Madam Caroline Kemunto, Associate Program Officer at the International Trade Center. I think you made several good points there that can help the IT sector get up to speed with the tourism and trade sectors. Let's go over to Madam Beatrice Shato, who we know is not with us, but she shared an address. So we were going to listen to what she had to say, and we're going to play that in a moment. Remember that Madam Beatrice could not be with us live due to an urgent commitment, but she's still with us, not only in spirit, but also thanks to technology, she was able to pre-record that. So let's go over and hear what she has to say on the topic of, finding ways for the IT sector to be up to speed with development in the tourism and trade terrains on the African continent.
Is the African IT sector up to speed to assist the economic potential from tourism and trade? I think the first thing to say is it's important to remember the features of tourism. It is a services industry, and the product is consumed at the point of production. This sector is complex, it's cross-sectoral, it's highly dynamic. This is because of its structure. You have a mix of small and large businesses that draw on domestic, regional, and international markets. You've also got its different components, especially natural and man-made attractions. Tourism fluctuates with seasons, and it is affected by multiple external factors, including changes in foreign exchange rates, state of transport at the destination market, health and security concerns, social and cultural practices, and catastrophic events. It is perishable, it competes in a global marketplace, and is subject to consumer trends. The sector consists of several tangible and intangible components. The tangible components include transport systems like air, rail, road. You've got water systems, issues to do with electricity. You've got hospitality services such as accommodation, food and beverages, tours, souvenirs. And then you have related services such as banking, insurance, and safety and security. The intangible components include rest and relaxation, culture, escape, adventure, and new and different experiences. Even with the use of digital means to market and trade in the tourism sector, all the other attendant features of the tourism industry have got to be in place. There's no point posting beautiful pictures on websites or easing booking processes for hotels and other accommodation through digital means if the ultimate experience for the customer is not going to be the best it can be. It only takes one bad review to go viral to kill a tourism product like a spa or a hotel or a museum or place of interest. So the infrastructure and logistics and the hospitality services like electricity, water, food, transport, banking, for instance, use of payment options, insurance, safety, security, all have to be in place and geared towards the ultimate goal, which is a better experience for the tourists, whether they are business or leisure tourists. My second point is that trust is the engine for digital growth. Digital trade, the digital economy, and the fourth industrial revolution are all based on technologies that require trust on both sides of a transaction, be it business to consumer, business to business, government to citizen, or government to business. The ideal outcome is where consumers and firms have a common understanding of their rights and responsibilities. There needs to be a functional trust framework to take advantage of the AFCFTA. If consumers and businesses do not have trust in online transactions, then usage will continue to be low. I've already made reference to the AU Digital Trade and Transformation Strategy. This shows the path to African countries to develop their IT sectors in the service of the wider economy. Coupled with the AFCFTA, it can be used to support the deepening of liberalization in critical areas required for growth of both the IT and tourism industries in Africa. So our message to African countries is to use these instruments to develop these sectors based on reform in national laws and institutional frameworks. So at the domestic level, apart from the required infrastructure which needs to be in place for IT systems such as electricity, broadband, internet, etc., there needs to be in place legislation on cybercrime, data protection, including on privacy, IPRs and consumer laws and policies, laws and mechanisms to enable electronic transactions, including to give weight to electronic messages such as email or information on websites, also to recognize electronic signatures. And then there also have to be enforcement mechanisms to back up the application of the laws, including funding for such mechanisms. All of these are part of the overall trust framework that needs to be put in place at the domestic level to take advantage of the AFCFTA and to roll out the digital trade and transformation strategy that we are putting in place at the continental level.
So that was Madam Beatrice Chato from the African Union Commission sharing her thoughts on this matter. We're going to conclude this opening plenary session with Mr. Fergus in Canada on a topic that is a trigger question, actually. So let's connect back to Mr. Fergus if you're still here. Yes, you are. So the last question, which we are hoping you can keep very short because we are a bit behind time, is, when we talk about tourism in Africa, museums seem quite absent from the list of attractions. Indeed, most African artifacts are logged in museums outside, Mama Africa. Bringing all these artifacts back home would first of all require adequate settings to preserve those artifacts. Digitizing them will be another thing, right? This will boost tourism in both ways, traditional tourism and virtual tourism. But again, what kind of figures will such a massive project represent, from data collection to importing the precious goods back, from digitizing these artifacts to making revenue out of them as tourism? Please take the floor, keep it short, and let's have your thoughts. Thank you.
Okay, thanks again, Madame Angela. That was a good intro, and I'll do my best to keep it short, and I'll use a relative example with what I'm living with what we're living with here in Canada. So often, for a lot of museums, what attracts visitors to a place are the authenticity, integrity, and tangibility of the artifacts, along with a sense of place and history where it's presented, like the museum itself. Think of the Louvre or the Rijksmuseum or the National Gallery in London, for example. And for some places, like the Louvre, it's hard to imagine the Louvre without the Mona Lisa or the Winged Venus. It's hard to imagine Florence without Michelangelo's statue of David in the Uffizi Gallery, or the terracotta warriors in Xi'an in China. So again, there's very much of a very strong connection to a place of the artifact, but of the museum itself. And, you know, as I said, I was going to bring a Canadian example, and that is we have, there's a considerable amount of repatriation going on right now, and that is with our Indigenous peoples. And the reason why that's so important is that in the 19th century, many of the cultural goods and tangible artifacts of our Indigenous peoples went outside of the country. It went to the United States, it went to Europe, went to France, elsewhere. And our Indigenous peoples are now in the process of trying to reclaim their patrimony back, not just for the purposes of the fact it was created by the hands of their ancestors, or the people who had designed, built, and made these so many hundreds or thousands of years ago in some cases, but also the fact that there's a spiritual quality that's attached to it. They're not just items, but they're items that have various elements of intrinsic value that they want to see returned. So in Canada, for example, we had a Truth and Reconciliation Commission, much like they did in South Africa, that ended in 2015. And it was one of the drivers was to repatriate and better present these cultural artifacts in Canada. There's also the United Nations Declarations on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. And again, to use that as a driver to try and say, look, you know, there are ways here where it's very important as a cultural right to be able to hold on to and maintain one's own cultural patrimony and artifacts. So again, a very sort of important perspective. And, you know, in the case of Canada, some of you might be familiar with totem poles. Totem poles are a very important symbol with our West Coast Indigenous people. About 150 years ago at the U.S. Centennial Exhibition in Philadelphia, they required or wanted a totem pole about 60 feet that they brought down from British Columbia. And British Columbia is on the west coast of Canada. And in order to get it down there, they cut it in half, and then they put it on a train and sent it from Vancouver to Philadelphia. And as an Indigenous friend said to me, she said, whenever I see that photo, I see my soul cut in half as well, because that is my ancestors that have been lost in the cutting of that totem pole. Since then, they've erected, the first new pole was erected since that period in 1969 in the West Coast. And now you're starting to see artifacts being returned from outside of Canada, the United States, Europe, elsewhere, back to Canada that are various sort of elements related to Indigenous peoples. As you can imagine, with a 60-foot totem pole, like many of the lectures or many of the large artifacts for Ghana, for other countries in Africa, it's not easy to get them back. They're very fragile. It's expensive. They've often come from climate-controlled environments. And in the case of our Indigenous peoples, there are very specific handling requirements as well, particularly with the spiritual aspect, where there has to be an elder present so he or she can observe and make sure that all the proper protocols are being observed in the transmission of those artifacts. So it's really important to think through in terms of cost, handling, storage, reception, the training of the individuals on the other side. And then from there, how do you promote that? How do you promote the fact that this is something that has come back to Africa, has come back to the peoples of that country, to the different groups that are there? And how do you promote that from a touristic standpoint? But more importantly for me, I think as a way of retrenching the culture, the patrimony, and the heritage of that cultural group or country, that this is hundreds of thousands of years old artifact that's been returned. The three quick things that I could suggest as opportunities to capitalize on this are partnerships with virtual museums. You know, learn how it's done well. There's lots of good virtual museums out there. Canada certainly has them, so I'll raise the flag on that. But there are other museums in the UK or Europe that do it very well in terms of training, interpretation, presentation, and safeguarding. How do you maintain all these hundreds of thousands of years old artifacts? I'm also member of the International Council, and we advise UNESCO on World Heritage. And they have a scientific committee called ICOM, the International Committee on Museums. It is a very good organization that helps with regulations, training, presentation, and all the necessary international standards that go into the presentation and maintenance of these different artifacts. And finally, one of the key elements, and this is happening in Ghana, is to strengthen and enforce the cultural international intellectual property laws regarding appropriate use and reproductions. There's been some discussion in the past with regard to the Adinkra symbols that are very important and are very significant from a cultural standpoint across different parts of the country. But they have also been adopted or reused or captured for fashion, for design, for other purposes. And there's been some issue in terms of how you use those symbols or how you use those artifacts, and if they're being interpreted or used wrongly. So again, that's in terms of those cultural symbols or materials. There needs to be a real sensitivity in terms of not just what they are, but what they actually mean to the people whose origins they have come from, their culture and their traditions. So again, a few things to think about, but really it is possible. The laws are there. And if it's helped by policy and laws within Ghana, this can help facilitate the return of a number of these goods, because I think the time is right now to try and start bringing goods back and cultural elements back elsewhere from other parts of the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Fergus, for these excellent points. We only have time for one comment from the Q&A session, and I'm going to ask this to all four of you, or three of you, I would say. Anyone who wants to chip in and say something, please keep it very brief, under 60 seconds. And we have a comment from Mr. Kweku Antwi, who says, while we are discussing all these high-level points, we have to also think about digitalizing our local communities to give meaningful tourism and trade. I want to know if any of you here has something to say about that. And if you do, please let me know, and I'll give you the floor. If anyone has any comment to make, please raise your voice. Yeah.
Sorry, could you repeat the question? I just zapped out of the internet.
The comment was, whilst we are discussing all these high-level points, we have to also think about digitalizing our local communities to give meaningful tourism and trade. Any comments on how to effectively digitalize local communities?
That's a very good point, and that's been an ongoing issue for the past 15, 20 years in terms of trying to bring smaller, more regional communities into the ecosystem. And part of it might be the fact that it's training, it's platforms, it's also improving the digital backbone that's outside of large urban centers. But part of it perhaps can be sort of more forward thinking in terms of a lot of the marketing and the communications is done by mobile. So how do you do more of a mobile focus as opposed to a notebook, laptop, or a desktop focus? And how are you able to develop this from a mobile network or for a formal platform? And one of the best ways is to have templates. You can work with different sort of web design partners or social media type partners to help not only convey the look and feel and information of those different sites for those different communities, but how to actually work with them to manage visitors and how to support them to come to your community at the same time, and to also show them the different things that they can immerse themselves in and to experience. Really use that, maximize the potential and value of those mobile platforms being used in rural areas, and that are becoming increasingly popular for travelers who are going outside of the major cities.
All right, thank you so very much to you, Mr. Fergus McLaren. We know that you are going to stay with us for the workshop session, same as Madam Esther Asante, who will stay with us. Caroline Kimunto, I know, is not part of the workshop session, but welcome to stay. Beatrice Shato is not with us. So we're done with this opening plenary session. We will indeed have the workshop session coming up very shortly. We're a bit running abridged. It wouldn't go all the way to 80 minutes, but it would still be good. We will first have a performance from our star of the day, Wiala, singing to us at the break. It's a 6 minutes break, so feel free, guest audiences and distinguished speakers, to refresh yourselves for 6 minutes before we come back for the session on driving domestic tourism through technology and virtual means. So let's now go over to this great performance from Wuyala, who recorded this all the way from WA for us. We're extremely grateful for this gesture, and let's give it away.
For Lioness of Africa, I say, raw! This song is called Rock and Sun. The rock and the sun look alike, but they are for different purposes. The moral of the song is, let's not copy each other blindly. Cut our coats according to our size. Yes, and it goes like this. The next song I'm going to sing is Sun and Moon. Ambataya, Kibataya, let Dinuti and Karinye. Ambataya, the baby come with Kibataya, let Dinuti and Karinye. Come tired, very tired, you look tired, yes, I'm tired. Come tired, very tired, you look tired, yes, I'm tired. Murmure, tinga baby, go sink the prayer. Tabarabili, para-oh, ansi wodi masaretini. Get to Matalena, get a monsaria. Dune notian, we sit on the Sugoya. Get to Matalena, get a monsaria. Dune notian, we sit on the Chumwalele, murmure, dinga bepele, kosenkupea. Tabarabili, para-oh, ansi wodi masaretini. Chumwalele, murmure, dinga bepele, kosenkupea. Tabarabili, para-oh, ansi wodi masaretini.
Well, this was Wiala with beautiful songs. The last one called Sun and Moon, and the first one called Rock and Sand. Well, we are going to start with our workshop session now. Thank you so much to everyone who is watching us live from YouTube or who is joining us in this Google webinar. Let's catch up on the 30 minutes that we have lost. So I'm sitting in for your moderator, Madam Odelia Intiama Bwapong, who also had a last minute emergency. So we are still here with Mr. Fergus McLaren, Director of International Relations and Knowledge Management at the Economic Innovation Institute for Africa. We are still here as well with Madam Esther Ama Asante, CEO of Organic Trade and Investments. We also have Madam Joanna Diana Steele joining us all the way from the UK. She's an e-commerce strategist. And Simon Wineloya Alangde, CEO for Wineloya Digital, a Google expert. And finally, Mr. Yao Pare, Ghana's #1 domestic tourism photographer. We will start with Mr. Yao Pare because he has to jump out very soon. So let's find Mr. Yao Pare among the people here on the webinar. Mr. Yao, how are you? Please unmute yourself.
Hello, thanks, Madam. I'm doing great, and you?
Fantastic, great to have you on the webinar. We're going to jump straight into your presentation. Feel free to introduce yourself to the audience and to start showing your slides. If you have any issue at your end, let me know so I can do the presentation for you. Thank you, and yours.
Hi, everyone. My name is Yao Pare. I'm a Ghanaian photographer. I'm actually a bit shocked how I got on this program, but thanks to Angela, she forced me to get on this thing by all means necessary. Anyway, here we are. I've been covering Ghana for a bit of about maybe 8 years now, taking pictures of various locations in Ghana. I wouldn't say I'm the #1 domestic photographer. I came to meet a lot, but I guess I have had a passion to do this more, maybe more than many people are. One of the things I like to talk about real quick is before we talk about digitalization in Ghana or in other parts of Africa, some of the things that come to mind for even our domestic tourism aspect. We require the right training for people on the grounds. We need to create a system whereas there's an educational program for the people who are into tourism, and more importantly, customer service. These are some of the three things that really need to be highlighted even before we bring in digitization, because if the services are not good, the places might be nice, but then it takes away from everything else. So some of these things are the main things that really need to be looked at when it comes to tourism as a whole. One of the other things that I see, which would be very great for every country, especially we in Africa, to protect our resources. I think we should channel our thinking into more tourism, because with tourism, you can save a lot of these natural resources that we have and let people just go look at things. Because tourism, for instance, for France, is one of the major earners for their country. We are doing this in a wrong way in terms of exploiting our resources and not giving our places a chance for tourists to come and visit, but rather depleting them and destroying them. Ghana has a lot of amazing tourism destinations. I mean, I've traveled the world in most places. I can always come back to Ghana. There are several tourism types in the world, close to about 63. I would say Ghana can easily take half of it. Cultural tourism, food tourism, you name it. Any type of tourism that you can think about, we can have it here in Ghana. And I think, as the French ambassador was saying, we should more likely to focus on culture, things that we already have. Instead of focusing on things that we don't have, we should actually, the things that we have, we should magnify them and do it better than anybody. Our kente, for instance, our culture, you know, even going to the chiefs and learning how, like we call it in Tree, Amamre, the lifestyles and things that they do that really stand out, especially when they're having events for cultural entertainment or when they are ushering in a new chief and all of these things. There's so much we can learn, you know, in domestic tourism. There's so much we can also do for schools, especially now that we have the schools that are running shifts. I think if the rest are in school, the rest should be on the field, learning hands-on what they are studying in the classes. So, I mean, that's what most of the things that I'd like to say right now. If Angela, if you can show some of the pictures that I take around Ghana and showcasing Ghana to the world, basically in a different light. I think that has been one of the problems that we've had. By not showcasing what we have, we tend to look at what others showcase and we jump onto them. I don't think any of us traveled to another country without getting to see what was there. We traveled because of things that we see, okay? So I think we need to invest more into advertising, and also that coupled with how we treat people, how our customer services are, would be a great combination to take our tourism to the next level. So in a nutshell, please enjoy the pictures, and that's all I have to say with regards to domestic tourism. Thank you, Angela.
Thank you so much, Mr. Yap Pare, who unfortunately has to leave us now, but we will continue to play the slideshow of his pictures so that you can have a look at them. On another note, you can still look at all of his wonderful pictures on his Facebook group called Random Pics Ghana.
Random Ghana Pics.
yeah, random pics. And you can also head to his website, yaopareimages.com. So at this point, we are now going to move on to our next speaker for the day. And apologies to Madam Joanna Diana Steele, who has been patiently waiting for her turn to jump in. Remember that the topic for the workshop is driving domestic tourism through technology and virtual means. So we're now going to jump over to Madam Joanna, all the way in the UK. Joanna, please introduce yourself to the people. I see that you are already unmuted, so the floor is yours.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I hope you can hear me okay.
Yes, we can. You are free to, do your presentation. Let's try and keep it short because we are 30 minutes behind. So please keep it short, concise, and let's roll. Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to attempt to share my screen. If you can let me know if you can see the presentation.
Absolutely. All clear, we can see it. Please roll.
Brilliant. So my name is Joanna Steele and I'm a digital marketing strategist and e-commerce consultant. I'm the co-founder and director of Dymax, and we're a digital consultancy that help businesses in Central and West Africa with their digital strategies to drive growth. And quite simply, I believe that helping African brands become the domestic and international stars of the future. And I wanted to say thank you to Angela for inviting me on this session. It's been a fantastic couple of hours so far, and I'm sure we've learned a lot, and there's a lot of food for thought to take away. I just wanted to sort of start off by saying that around this time last year, I did a 6-month sabbatical. And these are just some pictures from my travels. So I went to South America, Southeast Asia, and ended up in West Africa. And these images are just a snapshot of my travels. So in South America, I was in Argentina, Brazil, Peru. In Southeast Asia, I went to Malaysia, Singapore, Bali, and it was a very varied travel experience. So I was a solo traveler. I'd always wanted to travel for a long period of time and hadn't had the opportunity up until then. And my travels, I did various different things. It was about culture. It was about immersing myself with the culture, the food, the environment. You know, I did cycling, you know, walking, treks, exposed myself to sort of the arts of the different countries. And along that journey, I got into mountain climbing. So when I was in Peru, I climbed Machu Picchu, did the Inca Trail, you know, which was like, you know, 3 days of trekking to the highest peak in Peru. And it was there that I sort of found my love for mountain climbing. And although a lot of my trip had been planned beforehand, there was a lot of it that was quite spontaneous. And so when I did the trip in Peru to the Inca Trail, and I felt that I really enjoyed mountain climbing, I made it a thing now to climb the highest peak in every country that I subsequently visited, because I enjoyed that so much. So as my journey progressed, I climbed the highest peak in Malaysia, which is Mount Kinabalu. I then proceeded to climb an active volcano when I got to Bali. And then when I ended up in West Africa, I then climbed Mount Afajato in Ghana. And again, it was a sense of, I wanted to experience all elements that the countries have to offer. And it was great that I was able to experience that in Southeast Asia, South America, and in West Africa. And I want to sort of just give you an insight into sort of my travel experiences for a number of reasons, right? Firstly, the internet played a heavy part in planning and organizing that trip, whether it was from initial research, whether it was from booking the trips, whether it was spontaneous activities that I wanted to do, whether it's exploring a new town, a new region, whether it was looking at what activities were available. The internet was an integral part of my trip. I also booked some of this trip with a company called SDA Travel in the UK, which unfortunately over the last couple of days has fallen into administration. And I wanted to sort of mention that we are in a really critical stage within the tourism sector, where there are going to be a lot of sad stories, but also a lot of opportunities that we can learn from in order to take tourism to the next level. And I also wanted to sort of talk about sort of, you know, my journey being what I call a modern day traveler. So we're moving away from, you know, lying on the beach, and actually it's about how do you experience as much of a country as possible? How do you get a varied experience, you know, get to see the environment? I did some volunteering while I was traveling as well. So there's a real emphasis of different types of tourism that are slowly sort of slowly coming out from various different countries, you know, ecotourism, volunteering, etc., as well as finding out about the culture and the food. And then finally, I wanted to also sort of tell you about the reason why I wanted to talk to you about my journey was that when I climbed Mount Afajado, I did it with native Ghanaians who'd never done it before. And I asked them the question, you know, well, why had you not done it? And why did you decide to sort of do the climb with me? And the answer was, I saw, you know, all the amazing things that you've done, all the mountains that you climbed throughout your trip. And it really encouraged me. I wanted to have that kind of same experience. And so that's why I came along with you. And so I tell you that story because I think it's really important to understand the importance of using what we call user-generated content. So that's understanding and hearing about other people's experiences and then wanting to experience those yourselves. So if you are a tour company and you're trying to encourage people to come to an activity or an attraction site, for example, it's really important to use the experiences of other customers to help tell your story as to why tourists should be visiting your destination. And it's really important to understand the customer. And when we're talking about digital and tech, you know, fundamentally, what do your customers want? What does the modern day traveler want? As I mentioned, it's about ecotourism. How can I enjoy a country in a sustainable way? How can I do some good while I'm traveling? How can I volunteer? And that must reflect in your messaging, in your communication, and the channels that you use as well. And I think Ghana and Africa, other countries in Africa, really stand a chance of sort of catering to that new modern traveler, particularly when we're talking about the rural areas that exist across the continent. It's really important that, you know, websites, I talked about the internet was an integral part of how I sort of booked and planned my trip. And I think largely across the continent, what we're seeing is a lot of websites are still very much informational. You know, they're not transactional, they're not interactive. You know, you're not finding them with particular keywords. So I think there needs to be a real focus on how we can make those websites a bit more transactional, a bit more interactive, so people can do, you know, bookings online and get to view, you know, customer photos and really understand what that activity or what that attraction is all about. And we should also focus on data. How are we able to collect data so that we can offer a personalized or a customized experience for our travelers? Whether it's based on your budget, whether it's based on, you know, whether you're a solo traveler, whether you travel with your families, you know, whether you're going to a certain location, really understanding what that trip is all about. And getting that data means that we're able to then create experiences and customize trips for the modern day traveler. And mobile is massively important, right? Travel is inherently mobile. And so, you know, I traveled with my mobile the whole time, whether it was to research, whether it was to book. And we know across the continent, mobile penetration is upwards of 80%. So how can we leverage that technology and mobile devices to really cater to the new modern traveler? You know, when we're talking about tech, you know, there's some fantastic things going on out there around augmented reality, virtual reality, mixed reality, enhancing, experiences in museums or other attraction sites, given that element of allowing customers to sort of try before they buy. And all of that new stuff is fantastic, and it's here. And I think there's definitely opportunity for businesses within Africa to leverage some of those new technologies. But I think it's really important to consider getting the basics right. So we can talk about these fantastic technologies, and they definitely need to become an integral part of how tourism works across the world. But let's understand about getting the basics right. Let's keep the tourist sites well maintained. Merchandise. I found a lot of my experiences within Ghana, there wasn't any merchandise. How are we upselling? How are we making more money with tourism? Things like opening hours. Again, not very clear. Not very many attractions had Google My Business pages. So I think there's a few things that can be done with some of the basics before we sort of leapfrog ahead into things like AR, VR, etc. And I think finally, what's really key, obviously being within sort of, the pandemic and the uncertainty that sort of, is surrounding us, is I think it's important, whether it's domestic tourism or international tourism, to reassure customers, reassure travelers, bring back that confidence and comfort. So what are you doing as a site to reassure customers? What safety measures are you doing? Hygiene, what's happening there? I think there's a lot of things that we can do using technology. We've talked about perhaps robots helping people with hotel check-ins. There's stories around robots sort of cleaning hotel rooms and minimizing that human contact. Wearable tech, which allows you to sort of track your movements within a particular site, so that you can measure sort of visitor flow and where there might be high levels or high concentrations of people within a site. So there are things in which we can really sort of focus on, and where technology can definitely help us, particularly around this time where, providing confidence to travelers is really important, and making them feel assured that when they're traveling, that they're traveling safely. Thank you.
Wow. Madam Joanna, I think those are great points that attraction site owners can really leverage on. Thank you so much for your presentation. Please stay on the line with us, because we are having comments coming in the Q&A, which will be addressed to you. So we will be taking on those comments, and we'll be looking forward to you answering them. In the meantime, we're going to go to our other speaker in this workshop, Mr. Simon Alangde, CEO of Wineloya Digital, Google expert here in Ghana. Mr. Simon, thank you for your patience. Thank you for being here, and thank you also for helping us, fix internet connection issues which were distracting our viewers on YouTube. A reminder that the YouTube feed is back up, is streaming smoothly. Please go on YouTube, stream ADCOTT Live, drop your comments so that we can share them in this Q&A with our speakers. Anyways, Mr. Simon, thank you for being here, and roll away with your presentation, which I believe is on technology and cyber security.
Thank you very much, Angela, for the introduction, and great presentation from Joanna. It's an honor joining all of you from Ghana. I'm here in Ghana. I realize most of you are across Africa, and some, of course, outside Africa. Technology within the tourism industry is very imperative. It's something that you cannot do without, based on the demand and the current situations across the world. So I'm just going to jump straight into my slides, and I will share with you how we can help you as a business in tourism or a business in travel. Just to let you know, once we talk about tourism, we also talk about travel. So if you hear me talk about travel, then I'm also trying to talk about tourism. Okay. So Angela, I believe you can see my screen.
Absolutely, see it. Thank you. Please roll on.
Great. So yes, my name is Simon Winloya Langde. I'm a digital skills strategist and to cloud migration as well. So basically, Joanna has said so many things in terms of how to bring your business online and how businesses should leverage AR and all of those different technologies. I will talk, of course, something similar to that, but my approach will talk about, I'll delve more into the customer journey and the experience and how to be there in that moment of the journey. So first of all, to drive domestic tourism through technology or virtual means, you need to know who a digital customer is. You need to prioritize the customer journey experience. You need to monitor the tools or the trends within your industry or in the technology ecosystem. And then, of course, you have to rethink your messaging and your targeting strategies because of the current situations and, of course, based on the trends that you have monitored. And then the last thing I'll talk about is how to improve your digital hygiene. What are the things that you can help yourself in terms of personal branding, in terms of how to be on top of digital topics or issues in terms of your industry. Okay, so of course, if you are trying to bring your business or to leverage technology for your tourism business or your business in the travel industry, that means that you are bringing your business online and you are leveraging digital business. And therefore, ideally, the customers you're going to be interacting with, we call them the digital customer. Now, there are certain attributes or certain school of thoughts about who they are. And I'll just mention a few of them. A digital customer focuses on innovation. A digital customer insists on convenience. They're always connected and they lack brand loyalty. It does not mean that they don't love brand loyalty programs, but they lack brand loyalty. I'll explain all of this as I progress. Angela's reminded me that I have to be a bit quick because of the time that has spent so far. So a digital customer focuses on certain things when it comes to digitalization. And when we say you are leveraging technology for tourism industry, you have to first understand that your business or what you are getting to, there should be relevance. So knowing who your customer is and where they are in their purchase journey, knowing who the customer is. And of course, as I said, I would talk more about knowing who your customer is and then the purchase journey or the customer journey. Then you have to understand that in order to leverage digital, you must ensure that it's easy for you to find or book simple. It must be easy for customers to book or find easy information about your business. So therefore, convenience. Even in that convenience, you should understand that speed in its own self can stand alone, in the sense that 53% of users leave mobile sites that take longer than 3 seconds to load. So this should be certain top priorities in terms of how you should, when you're leveraging digital platforms, what you should think about when you're on these digital platforms to promote your tourism or your business. Now, what are those customer journey or the movements that you should consider when you are looking at bringing your business online or leveraging technology or virtual means for a tourism business? One, there's a school of thought that we call the zero moment of truth, right? That talks about the micro movements to from the brand awareness to the final purchase, in terms of from a customer's seeing your brand and actually deciding to buy your product. There are certain micro movements within that customer journey, and that's what I'm going to talk to you about. One, I want to watch what I am to moments. This is the moment where the customer is watching what is looking out for useful information that is relevant to that customer at that point. At that point, the customer is not looking for something to buy, but he's just watching what is useful to himself or herself. The second one is I want to know moments. This is the part that the customer is also looking for local businesses. I want to know, sorry, it's in search for local businesses around and to know information information that he has seen somewhere. He has, let's say that he has seen your video, your ad on TV. He's trying to, basically search more about your brand. So they'll either go to social media like Facebook to search about your brand, or even to go on Google search. Of course, Google search is the first thing they'll think about. But of course, we're in a digital ecosystem, so there are other platforms they might go. So the question is, are you there when they want to know more about your brand? And then I want to go moments. I want to go moment is when they are looking for businesses near them based on their radius. So hotels near me, restaurants near me, swimming pools near me. So these are the things that your customer will be looking for, and that in those micro moments. Are you there when they're looking for those things when they're in that stage of thoughts? Then I want to do moments. This is the time that the customer is basically looking for how to. So we have the how-to videos, how to maintain your house during lockdown, how to stay healthy during the lockdown, basic things that they can do, to do themselves. So the how-to videos. What do you have content that is available to keep your customers, remember your brand, content marketing, to understand that we call that kind of content marketing influence consideration. They might not actually be, your how-to video is not a sell video, but when they're looking for a service that you sell, they'll think about you because they remember your brand when they were watching those videos. Then there's the actual purchase period, which we call I want to buy moments. So these are different, the different school of thought about the micro moments to which the customer is always in when he's trying to buy a product, from the brand awareness to the purchase product. So when you understand these different customer journey moments, you'll be able to position your brand in these different segments to be able to be there for the customer to leverage or to make that purchase of your products. So once you understand the micro moments for your client, or your customer, that you're, of course, even within all of this, you have to have a profile of your customer. So your customer is within this age group, the avatar, and then that typically, if your customer, because of the age group and then the job brackets or the income of that customer, they will literally be watching news at this time. They will visit these websites. So you would be able to know the platforms and the kind of messaging to send to them in these different micro moments. And then, of course, you have to monitor the trends. What is happening? What is happening around your industry? What words are travelers or people within Ghana or out of Ghana searching for about your business? So, for example, if they're searching for, if you type the word Ghana in a platform like Google Trends, so you can go to trends.google.com and you search for Ghana, and you can choose a location like the United States or Italy, any place you think your customers will be there. What are the words they are searching about Ghana or about your location, whether in Cape Coast or you're in Mugua? What are the things they're searching about? Maybe they're searching for hotels, or they're searching for experiences to do in these locations. Based on these trends, you can also begin to build content to drive traffic to your tourism site. So you have to begin to monitor trends. You can even beyond using platforms like Google Trends, you can use a simple tool like Google Alerts. That even allows you to get alerts based on certain topics of your choice, right? So for example, let's say that your brand name, you can have alerts for your brand name. Anytime your brand name is being mentioned or Google picks up information about your brand name, if it's seeable or searchable on Google search, Google would show that brand name, will send you a notification to your email address for that brand name. And you can even get it as frequent as anytime it pops up, or weekly or monthly, depending on your settings. So there are different platforms that you can monitor the trends, either in your industry or about the digital customer. So even if you know your customer, your avatar, the ideal customer that you're looking for, then you can begin to create these trends. You can even monitor, as Joanna said, you can use Google Analytics data platforms to, of course, understand your current customers. And once you know, you build a strong profile of your current customer. Using that profile, you could use the technology platforms to get more customers like your current customer, right? So this is a simple way. And of course, one thing you should know about the digital platform is that once you're able to target correctly and you narrow your targeting, whether you're running ads or you're basically building content, if you're able to narrow the content you are giving out and the profile you have, you spend less in terms of even running ads, right? You spend less because you are reaching out to the people that actually are looking for a business or are trying to find services that you sell or provide. So when you are, of course, now you know your ideal customer, you know their customer, you know their customer journey in terms of the micro movements. You understand how to monitor the trends. Another thing you should think about is now that we're in these early stages of recovery or post-COVID or within COVID, you should rethink your strategy, right? And why am I saying that? Because travel is now a priority for most customers post-lockdown. People are thinking, and this is a research from Google, that 2020 May, that 45% of people who had delayed in vacations due to COVID-19 are prioritizing booking as a vacation or trip after the pandemic. So basically, people are seriously waiting and searching. They are in the moments. They are in the I want to know moments. They are in the that moments where they're looking for useful information. So the question is, what are you doing in anticipation of that post-COVID pandemic period? And another thing you should understand is that the customer is the mindset is changing, right? People are also, and just like this, what do you call it? This workshop, people are thinking about domestic travel. Local people are trying to explore their environment. So people are planning for the next 3 months. Within the next 3 months, what can they do? So what content do you have for them to do things within the next 3 months, within the shortest possible time? What content is available? So you should focus on things like near me. And the near me campaigns it sounds as simple, but it can be as robust as you want it. So when we say a near me campaign, we mean as basic as a tour guide near me, a tour guide in Dansuma, or it can be as simple as a restaurant near me. Now, you can have a big hotel, you can have a small hotel, but you can segment these different products or services you have, right, into different near me campaigns. Because of course, post-COVID, your initial campaign was the hotel because that's where you're making more revenue from. But now you can segment the near me campaigns for walk-ins to your restaurants. So the restaurant alone can be a near me campaign for people to walk into your restaurant, even though you are a full-fledged hotel. But you want, because of the COVID situation, you are trying to get more people within your radius to visit your location. So you build more content on social media about near me campaigns for people within your radius or demographic areas. You can also build near me campaigns. Of course, the ideal one is Joanna also mentioned it, but Google My Business Listing, so which is free. So all these things are free, which is free. So you can have these different campaigns to ensure that once they search for your services near them or your services in your geographical areas, Google will recommend your business because you have opted for such form of, let me say, promotion. Okay, so as I said, I have to rush through all of this because I've been prompted about the time. But another thing you should consider is your digital hygiene. Without a digital mindset, you cannot run a digital tourism, or you cannot promote you cannot leverage technology or virtual means for your business. You don't have a digital mindset. If you personally feel like digital is too difficult, you will spend so much money. So many people will come to you with solutions that you could have actually worked on yourself or you could have done in-house, but because you are refusing to have the digital mindset, you lose from that that game, or that yes, let me just say game for lack of a better word. So you have to leverage and build your digital hygiene, subscribe to different tourism platforms, join different groups or school of thoughts about digital products and how to leverage digital within your ecosystem. Journal, again, as I said, because it's a workshop, when we all speak on the same topic, of course, different speakers will mention similar products. So, for example, the VR that AR and VR that Joanna mentioned, you can leverage a free one that is from Google. So, for example, there's one called arv.google.com. I'll send these links to Angela to share with everyone after this presentation. And of course, if you need to reach out to me, you can reach out to me, mail at my name, swalangde.com. But basically, if you're leveraging sometimes, and this is a free, like creating a virtual toy is free. The platform is there, all you do is a mobile phone. Of course, if you want it to be more creative, you can engage someone who is good in these things to build that for you. But if you're a startup, you could try it yourself and see how it works for a business, right? And these are free, and these are tools that are available for you. So you have to, within this, at least even as we're in the early recovery stages of COVID, you still have to build that mindset, that digital hygiene. So that's basically what I have for today. Because of the time, I could not dive deep into all of them. But yes, I'm open to questions, and thank you very much for this opportunity.
Excellent, Mr. Simon. Thank you so much for this free lecture. Please stay on the line with us because we will be having some comments from people regarding all that you shared. We're going to jump back to Canada with Mr. Fergus, who will have a presentation to show to us. But please, we are running out of time. We have to close at 1 p.m. So try and keep it as short as possible so that we can be on time, because we also have the closing ceremony coming up. So Mr. Fergus, still on the line. Can you hear us?
I can. Thank you for the reminder about the time. That's very, very. I will do my best to do so.
Thank you. Please run away with your presentation.
Okay. This is. Let's see. Sorry, I'll just get to it.
No problem. A reminder that you are watching the Africa Digitization Conference on Tourism and Trade. We are streaming it live from the NDPC, National Development Planning Commission. We are grateful to them for giving us their conference room to carry out this event. And we still have Fergus on the line. Mr. Fergus, are you through with your presentation? And are you ready to go? Mr. Fergus, please mute yourself. We will get back to you in some time when all of this is resolved. You might want to log out and log back in. So we will be back connecting to Canada very soon. Madam Esther, we want to know if you are still with us.
Yeah, I'm still with you. Please,
fantastic. So as we were talking about solutions to drive domestic tourism through digital means, you had some points to make when it comes to how can tourism become attractive to citizens and not only to foreigners, and this is something that is the case not just in Ghana but also in some other African countries. So please, take the floor and give us solutions at a local and also continental level. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Angie. I'm going to keep this very short. So actually, based on my own experience, from someone who grew up in Europe and returned to Ghana, and I didn't know much about my own country. It looks like everyone was focusing on leaving Ghana and going to experience other countries in Europe, and I was always shocked. So what we did is we made it a point that every year we would focus on one region in Ghana and then discover that region. And I think the program we are having with domestic tourism in Ghana or in Africa is our mindset. I think we must not downplay the importance of the domestic tourism, because this sector can reduce poverty by generating employment and the remote areas and in communities, and improve infrastructure and in these regions, for instance. So the change of mindset is very important. It starts with we cherishing whatever we have, our culture, our tradition. In Africa, we have a lot of languages, over 200 languages spoken in Ghana, for instance, and I can barely speak only one. So this is already a wealth that we have to cherish and be grateful for. Educating people on their culture and whether whatever items that are unique to that respective area, like we have to change the narrative. And this is where children can learn about our own history. And instead of having people writing our history, then we write it ourselves. And the domestic tourism should be part of our storytelling. So how do we promote the communities and emphasize on their culture, traditions, languages, foods? And we have to run promotional campaigns. And I like the fact that Simon was emphasizing on how to promote an area through digitization. And this is exactly what we have to do. In Ghana today, we have about 3.4 million Ghanaians that always on social media. We can use that platform to advertise, to run campaigns on a certain region, and it will be free. It just attracting the attention to go to that region. Another thing that I think we should do is to promote the detailed map for tourists, because that is one of the challenges we faced we didn't have when we were trying to plan a trip to a region in Ghana. So we have to end up doing it all by ourselves. Well, it wasn't really fun, but we had no other way of doing it, no other option. So placing them in we can have that kind of detailed map for tourists, and we can place these map in the bars, restaurants, hotels, and malls for everyone to see. So showcasing whatever we have, like other speakers have already emphasized on that idea or aspect. We cannot do away with our culture and who we are. It's our story. And another thing I want to emphasize on is what COVID has shown us or has taught us is the importance of partnership. Our small artisans must be part of the domestic tourism ecosystem. Let's say we do shea butter in a area such as Tamale. Already the name Tamale, it has a history, a background history, which means the town of shea. So if I'm getting to that kind of town, I expect that I'll go and see the shea butter, people who are producing shea butter and all those things. So if we bring them together on a same platform, this is where we are also promoting other people to know more about our culture, ourselves. And this is just for Ghana. But after Ghana, we also have regions, the Francophone regions, and even Eastern Africa. We don't know those parts of the countries or Africa, the continent. So I think first and foremost, changing the mindset is the main focus here, and to understand that we have great things in Africa, like Yao Pari told us, and with beautiful pictures, really keeping it simple, and that is the way forward. So I'm just keeping it simple because of time factor. Thank you.
Well, absolutely excellent points made. Let's try to head back to Mr. Fergus. Mr. Fergus, if you're still here, fine.
I am. I'll try the presentation again. Thanks for your patience.
Excellent. So looks like you have your presentation set. If there are any issues at your end, I could try playing it at my end, but I believe you will be able to sort that out. Let me know if there's anything. You seem to freeze. Are you able to still hear us, Mr. Fergus? Okay, it appears that Mr. Fergus has again been lost. If we can at least hear you speak, you could comment on the slides and I could run them for you. Let me know if that's something you could do. Otherwise, in the meantime, what we'll do is we'll just start taking questions.
If you could if you could run the slides for me, that'd be great, because I seem to be having some issue with them on my Google service.
Yes. All right. Perfect.
Thank you.
So I can hear you clearly.
Okay.
Oh, we can even see you. All right. So I'm just to open your file, your presentation, and then we will run with that right away.
Thank you.
So a reminder that you are watching the Africa Digitization Conference on tourism and trade. So let's see if we can finally get lucky with Mr. Fergus' presentation. Yes, we can.
Excellent.
There we go.
Okay. So first off, Angela, for accommodating me and for this presentation. And essentially just wanted to give you a quick overview in terms of VR, virtual reality, augmented reality, and how it could be applied in tourism, and an example that would be applicable for what could be applied in Ghana and elsewhere in Africa. So if you go to the next slide, please. So just back to Ubisoft, go back to the one above. No, go back up. Yeah. So I live in Canada, as you know, and we live on the road from Montreal, where the arm of Ubisoft, which is a French company, and produces a number of video games that some of you might be familiar with if you have kids or if they are interested in esports. One of their most popular games, next slide, please, is Assassin's Creed. There are about 12 versions of the game, and the 8th version is one that's called Unity. And one of the things that Ubisoft does is that they are very good in terms of digital thing, in terms of their games, to make it as accurate and representative as possible. This game came out in 2014 after a year and a half of doing the digitizing and the referral and the information. Next slide, please. Last April, on the 15th and 16th of the month, there was a terrible, tragic fire in Notre Dame. Notre Dame, of course, is part of the Paris Banks of the Seine World Heritage Site, but is also, this is one of the iconic symbols of the city. And of course, many watched in horror as this site burned down. And so there was a curiosity in terms of what can we do in terms of how we rebuild it properly and where we get the information from. Well, one of the great things is that Ubisoft had all the digital information that they needed. And for the restoration and the reparation of that site, next slide, please. The French authorities have been using the digital information that Ubisoft has on hand to begin the restoration of this very important structure that is not only important from a spiritual and cultural standpoint for the French, but it is also one of the prime destinations and symbols for tourism in the country. And to top it off, the Ubisoft also gave a €500,000 to help with the restoration. So again, it's about the power of digital, but how it can also support the restoration of these different sites. So next slide, please. So just for those who might not be aware what the difference between virtual reality and augmented reality is, virtual reality is the immersive computer-generated simulation where a person can take part in a 3D environment using goggles or some other such devices to feel like you're in something. Think of the holodeck that you used to see on Star Trek, for example. And then augmented reality are computer-generated visualizations that enhance the sense of the real world around us, or merge the real and virtual together. So you can have overlays, you can have things where you can turn your car into a horse visually, or you can imagine something there that there's a digital overlay for it. Next slide, please. So why use virtual reality, augmented reality in tourism? It can help simulate tourism experiences anyone with enough money could experience for real. So especially in this time of COVID, where you might want to explore a place or think about a place where you'd want to travel once we've emerged out of this COVID sort of nightmare, there's an opportunity to actually sense what a place is about, the things you can see and do there, and really get a general feel for it. VRR can also create experiences that are not ordinarily feasible. You can take a magic carpet ride over Accra, or you could be in an ancient Viking ship like with Game of Thrones somewhere in the North Sea. It's a way where you can place yourself in an environment that, you know, is otherworldly. Finally, you know, it can help people in this time of COVID to surmount travel restrictions and control the experience of the rest of the world. So again, to really open up your eyes where many of us have been sequestered in our homes. Challenges of using this sort of system. Virtual holiday, that's not the same as being there in a place. You can't really taste the food. You can't really get the senses and smells of a place. There's a high production investment and quality capacity that's required by national tourism organizations, destination management organizations, and tour operators. It's a lot of time, money, and effort that's required there. Some of these require high bandwidth, Wi-Fi, and different sorts of elements that allow tourists to use it. And finally, you know, software, hardware, and content get old very quickly. So there has to be real sort of investment in terms of, you know, updating the product, updating the information, and trying to make those things that are unique in terms of providing those different elements for that site. Next slide, please. So the opportunities, you know, you can place people into a compelling and engaging storytelling that's really immersive in terms of how you think about a place and the different sort of thing that you know, create that excitement of turning, as I say, turning lookers into bookers, people who really, you know, they see, they appreciate, and they understand, and they make that decision, you know, that's where I want to travel to next. There's scalable yet engaging content, tools, evaluation, research, and infrastructure that can really help in terms of the information of customization and scalability that can start addressing those groups of clients or customers that really start to feel or understand that this is a destination that they want to travel to. And finally, you can begin to start showcasing destinations and amenities, the places that are around there to recreate them. Some places have even started to go as far as using wind and aromas and other sort of scents and other things to build that attraction or sense of place in conjunction with the VR, AR that's there. So a real sort of fully sensory experience. Next slide, please. One of the organizations that I've been working with is a firm run of mine called Pankaj Manchanda, and it's referred to as Og Traveler. And it was a finalist in the 2019 Indian Innovation Startup Camp for World Tourism Forum Lucerne. So it's very high level and a very unique sort of product in terms of the digitization that he's done to do an augmented reality representation of Indian World Heritage sites in major cities like Jaipur, Delhi, and Agra. And these are some of the images of it just below. Next slide, please. One of the key things that it focuses on are the Sustainable Development Goals. So much like the ADCOTT logo that has the O represented as the 17 different goals of the 17 for the Sustainable Development Goals, the Og Traveler focuses on 3 specific goals: cultural heritage, education, and economic development. And the 5 key elements that the 4 key elements that focus on are immersive travel experiences, and having really enriching cultural walks and trails, enabling community employability, but also small, medium enterprise business development to tie into this platform, and also to enrich school students' experiences. So adding into the local, regional, and national curriculum from not only an information standpoint, but a visual and experiential standpoint. So to really make that learning and education stick for that culture. Next slide, please. So this is what the experience is. You can align with basically cultural heritage. So it's essentially using the mobile platform, as I said in one of my earlier presentations, is really it's becoming the key digital instrument for people to use to get in and around different sites, and it actually allows you to explore these sites where you can walk around and you can point it or direct yourself within that site, and it gives you a brief interpretation of the history, aspect, and important nature of those different elements within those sites. Here, one of the images shows the Taj Mahal, which of course is one of India's most important cultural sites. Next slide, please. So there are also cultural routes. So to this end, around a major site like the Taj Mahal or Agra Fort in Delhi, or some of the forts in Jaipur, for example, there's an ecosystem of businesses. There might be craft makers or artisans or restaurants or hotels. And so there is an ability on this device, not only for the site itself to give you a tour of it, but also, as Simon said before, a near me element to it. So what are the things when you are visiting a site as an independent traveler where you can find authentic crafts, authentic food, of artisans that are nearby, that you can get a fuller sense of the history and culture of that place. And so really sort of multi-layered in terms of the benefits to tourism that can be accrued from the platform. Next page, please. In terms of for education, Og Traveler has gone as far as to partner with two of the leading educational publishers in the world, Macmillan and Springer, and they have basically used a high standard of curriculum that they've placed into digital forms that enable kids to learn about different aspects of Indian cultural heritage and how that fits into the history, the geography, social science, civics, and other elements that are very important parts of the overall Indian educational system. So again, it's a unique sort of mode and platform to convey this information, and at the same time, one that tends to stick more in terms of information and how it's presented from a visual and appreciation standpoint. Next page, please. So Og Traveler has a number of partners. We've mentioned already Macmillan, and there's two key ones there are Decathlon and TripAdvisor. So Decathlon is one of the biggest sporting goods stores in the world and based in India, but they also have a very big athletic community around it. So using this Og Traveler device, they are working with Decathlon to help them in terms of trails, in terms of training, in terms of all those other different aspects for people who are traveling from different countries wanting to get involved with sports tourism or sporting activities. And in the case of TripAdvisor, which many of you know, and actually go walking around to various sites. And if you see something that you want to find out more about food that's nearby, if you want to go eat or if you want to stay somewhere nearby, you click on the TripAdvisor and it shows what the review is. And then it shows, again, if you click on it near me, then what it will do is it'll show you the actual Og Traveler information that encourages local economic benefit and jobs as well. So, and you see the different levels below: business to business, business to consumer, institutional, e-commerce. There's all kinds of levels where there can be a connection through this digital platform and economic benefit. So really it's a platform, but it's ultimately customizable. And if you're a tour operator or if you're someone who's a business that wants to get into that ecosystem, you can customize those platforms around that site to add different businesses or other opportunities to generate revenue or participation in the ecosystem. Next slide, please. So the key things that the Og Traveler can resolve is a quality experience, well curated information that's in your hands and that you can access very quickly. It's accessible, so accessible for a number of people of different backgrounds and different levels of interest, and also people who might be older or disabled who don't necessarily have those kinds of opportunities to see this kind of information or to participate in this touristic activity. And it also, as I mentioned before, community benefits in terms of jobs and other sorts of ecosystem benefits that are there for the different businesses in and around these important cultural and natural sites. Next slide, please. They can also, again, the other 4 issues, they can do customization. So again, you can customize it for the destination. But you can also customize it, of course, for the visitor, for what she or he is looking for as they travel around a place, and you know, the different areas, interests that can feed into how they can get the most out of a destination. There's a strong educational focus that I mentioned before. It is scalable, and it can be used, you know, you can place different layers for a site, for a region, for a country, and certainly there are opportunities within Africa to use this type of technology as well. And finally, engagement. One of the things that they've tried to do is that to actually draw younger people into it, they've gamified some of the treasure hunt tours where you can actually get people to explore a site or a destination and bring them to different places around that site through the use of gaming, much like people used to do with Human Gold, for example. But this is more treasure-oriented, where there are small gifts or rewards that you get for going through the site or destination to understand it more and purchase things along the way in some instances. So in conclusion, we shouldn't be aspiring to go back to normal. We should be reimagining what normal means. Of course, after last year's successful year of return, there was much promise in December with the Beyond the Return program. Of course, COVID has had its impacts on it, but there to look at that Beyond the Return program and infuse it with these new digital opportunities, digital means to help drive the visitor economy forward as Ghana and other countries recover. Next slide, please. So, Medasi, many thanks, and my information is there. If you'd like more information about the work we do with the Economic Innovation Institute for Africa, and also about Og Traveler, I'd be happy to connect you more with information on that. Many thanks.
Awesome. Thank you so much for this presentation. Another great one. We've had fantastic presentations at this ADCOTT program. Anyways, we are nearing the end of this show. So what we're going to do right now is take some questions and comments from the people following us on YouTube and on this webinar. And it has to be a bit quick because at 45 we're done. So we basically have like 7 minutes to go through this. I'm going to read a few comments. I believe I saw some. Okay, somebody addressing themselves to Madam Joanna said, how can I connect with regards to consultancy for my own business? Somebody else said, I've discovered many new places in Ghana thanks to Yaupare platforms. Indeed, domestic tourism is so important. I'm going to give the opportunity to Madam Joanna to say one last word before we close this. And then also later on, Madam Esther Santi, if she wants to add something. Mr. Simon Alangde and Yaupare have left due to other commitments, but we were very pleased to have them on the webinar. So, Madam Joanna, if you're still with us, your final comments on these workshops and those topics.
Thank you. If anyone wants to connect with me, I am on LinkedIn, and my website address is dimaxdigital.com. I think I just kind of wanted to sort of close by saying that, you know, tourism, domestic tourism can be attractive for citizens. And there are a number of different ways in which that can be done. I think there should definitely be a focus on events that instill national pride, that bring people together in some way, virtually or otherwise, around music and sports, and really, I suppose, tap into the idea of helping people to discover their local area or a region that they're not familiar with. I think Esther mentioned it earlier when she said, you know, we proactively were intentional about selecting an area that we were unfamiliar with and exploring it. So I think, you know, humans, we are just generally quite inquisitive, and we want to find something new. And if we tap into that human element to help people discover sort of new areas and generate excitement around discovering hidden beauties, I think that's going to be key to drive domestic tourism. And really tapping into how you can relive nostalgic moments, etc. I think as well, strategic partnerships are key. You know, the tourism industry is so interlinked with various different industries, you know, airline companies, independent tour operators, you know, hospitality, you know, all of those different sectors. I think it's really important now, more than ever, to kind of collaborate and work together. And that will help bolster each of those economies individually, industries individually, and sort of have an overarching impact on the economy of the country. And I think as well, some of the things that we should look at is how we can entice citizens to participate in domestic tourism. So whether it's special offers, you know, bundled packages, discounts for families, things that I think would really sort of help drive, you know, domestic tourism. And really, I think leverage, I think I mentioned this before, but people buy into people. It's about people's experiences. And I think share content that comes from customers who have used your services, and use your customers to sell your services on your behalf, and really promote that. You know, whether it's on your social media channels, whether it's on your own websites, whether it's brochures that you put together, but really let the experiences of your customers sort of sell your proposition to other customers. And thank you.
Wow, great insights there. Madam Esther Ama Asante, if you're still with us, we would like to have your final thoughts on the whole topic, the workshop. Please connect with your camera. Thank you.
Okay, great. So yeah, definitely, it has been a great session here, and I enjoyed every bit of it. And I'm going to connect with some of you on the platform. Thank you. I think what I would join what Joanna said. It's definitely up to us to tell our own story as Africans and rewrite it the way we have to, because the experience, whatever we experience day in, day out, we have to put it there. And also, it's only Africans that can build Africa with the help of people who believe in us and trust us. We don't expect anything from anyone else, but we have to trust ourselves, and partnership, collaboration is the main key to make it. And I think also Africa shouldn't disappear from this new era of digitization. We really need to impact our world and use these tools as the great opportunity to boost our economy, and also develop our country, and put in place systems that will help everyone, and good governance in any way. Thank you.
Great points mentioned there. I'm just going to read some comments as we have 60 seconds before we head over to WOW, where we are you know, offered us a fantastic performance, a closing performance for this you know, webinar, which we have brought to you by the way of the NDPC here in Accra. We thank them very much for giving us, you know, their premises to run this show. Again, sincere apologies to all our viewers, especially those on YouTube who had issues with the live stream, because you know, we had complications in the beginning, but the stream has been running smoothly for the past 90 minutes. And of course, we expect to improve in our delivery of the ADCOTT, which is our annual flagship program at the Chamber for Tourism Industry Ghana. Remember, you can follow us on social media at CTI Ghana, whether it's on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or LinkedIn. Follow us, or you can just look us up, Chamber for Tourism Industry Ghana. We are also on YouTube, as you know, so please subscribe. Make sure that you put the bell button. A lot of amazing things are coming up at the Chamber, so do stay tuned as we collaborate with various entities, industry players, to make sure that tourism in Ghana and Africa improves. My name is Adaikuya Asante, aka AACOO at the Chamber for Tourism Industry Ghana, and I was your host and moderator for both the opening plenary session and the workshop. We're going to end with a couple of comments on a very positive note before I deliver to you Wiala's amazing closing performance done exclusively for CTI Ghana. So Solomon Ratimani said, thank you. So many comments coming in. Thank you for all the wonderful presentations, very informative. Mr. Erika Pia, very insightful. We are very grateful. Mr. Bule Mgunyi, Mr. Bule, this has been an awesome platform to get a sense of what's happening within the tourism space. A lot of learnings I've gained, which will definitely inform me as a social media and digital specialist in South Africa. Thanks to everyone who's been involved in setting this up. Mr. Edward Bruce Leal says, great submissions. Thanks everyone. The National Development Planning Commission is inviting you to join discussions on the future of work in post-COVID-19 Ghana on Wednesday, 26th of August at 5:30 p.m. GMT at the Africa Trade House next to the British Council in Accra. And he gives the Zoom link in registration, for those who are participating in this Google webinar, you can have it. Other comment from Asravo Joshua, who says, God bless you all for the great impact. We also thank you and bless you. Ada Tourism says, great insights from presenters, useful inputs to serve as tools to drive responsible domestic tourism as we strive to build back better. Let's make it count. On this note, we are going to make it count. Thank you all very much. We want to say big thanks to all distinguished speakers from the start to finish. Again, massive thanks to Dr. Kojo Esem Mensah Abrampa, Director General at NDPC, Madam Abigail Adesina Olagbaye, African Tourism Board Ambassador and ex-Miss Tourism Nigeria, who also filled in for her chairman at African Tourism Board, who couldn't join us, but he did a video for us, which we will upload on our social media channels. So please do stay tuned to hear his solidarity message exclusively for us. Also, big thanks to Mr. Kwesi Eyison, Tour Operators Union of Ghana President, TUGA President, and Ghana Tourism Federation Vice President, GHATOF Vice President. Big thanks as well to Mr. Bulut Bakshi, who joined us from Turkey. He's the president at the World Tourism Forum Institute and Global Tourism Forum. We will definitely be doing a lot of collaborations with him. A massive thanks to Mr. Sol Molobi, whose slides inspired many of us watching. Brand Hill Africa Chairman and former South African Consulate General to Italy. Merci aussi to Anne-Sophie Ave, Honorable Anne-Sophie Ave, the French Ambassador to Ghana. Many thanks to Honorable Dr. Ziblin Barry Idi, our guest speaker for the day and Deputy Minister for Tourism, Creative Arts and Culture of Ghana. We are so glad to have the support of MOTAC at the Chamber. Again, many thanks to Madam Beatrice Chato, who made sure that she will be able to have some input, even if she couldn't be with us live. She did contribute via recorded answers. Thank you to Mr. Fergus McLaren, all the way from Canada, time zones differences, and he still managed to log in on time. It was 5 p.m. at his place, so very early. Thanks again. Thanks also to Madam Esther Ama Asante, CEO of Organic Trade and Investments, for her wonderful insights. And also thank you to Madam Caroline Kimunto, International Trade Center Associate Program Officer. It was great to have you all. Let me also share my appreciation to Madam Joanna Diana Steele, e-commerce strategist all the way from the UK, Mr. Simon Alangde, CEO of Wineloya Digital, and Mr. Yapare, whose brief intervention was nonetheless very impactful. Remember, you can have his pictures on his website, galpareimages.com, or again on his Facebook group. Now the time has come to just chill, because you are going to really enjoy yourself in this wonderful performance exclusively by Wiala for us at the Chamber for Tourism Industry Ghana. So let me just set this up for you to really enjoy it. We are done here at the ADCOTT webinar. We will be back next year, hopefully much bigger, much better, with no problems with the internet whatsoever. Thank you so much to all our viewers for your patience. And now it's time to enjoy ourselves. So let's take it away.
Hi guys, welcome back. My name is Wiala, aka the Lioness of Africa, and my next song is actually called Africa. And it says, why do we fight when we have everything? Gold, diamond, everything. We shouldn't fight. We should use the energy in a positive way to make good use of all these natural resources to make Africa a beautiful and attractive continent for everybody to want to come and visit. Here it goes. The land is good, the land is fine. Gold we have, diamonds we buy. Yet we fight, we cover it all in blood. Tell me why we wallow in the mud. Africa, 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 yeah. Mama Africa, we cry for peace. Africa. The land is good, the land is fine. Go diamonds we mine. Yet we fight, we cover it all in blood. Tell me why we wallow in the mud. Africa, 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 yeah. Mama Africa, we cry for peace. Africa. Someone got to give. Some got to give. Oh, the some got to give. Some got to give. Africa, Sambo got to give, Kayura. 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 Tell me why we fight. Tell me why we fight. Just tell me why we fight. Tell me why we fight.